One sec. Democracy's calling. See you, Daddy. Bye.
Hi, my name is Cooper, and this is a day in my life as a White House intern.
We did a joke. Hey, everyone. Vogue.
Usually I start off with a big coffee. Sorry, they're like really strict in here.
Hey, Jenny. I booked you a nail appointment, love.
Yeah, I didn't tell you to do that.
It's called Initiative. Hi, White House. This is Cooper. I don't think so. Oh, doesn't matter.
This is actually the entrance to the West Wing. This is so fun, and it's really prestigious.
Hey, POTUS. Is Olivia Rodrigo still here?
No. We've come a long way in our fight against this virus. We've vaccinated 160 million Americans. Are you getting this all down?
Don't worry, Queen. It's all right here.
Cooper.
Sorry, Miss Jen. And Jen, don't forget to have fun. Spirit fingers, Mama.
We need to get shots in the arms of every single American.
I'm heading to a haircut.
Comment if you want me to make more of these.
One sec.
Well, welcome, friends. This is All Minus One, and my name is Bill. If you guys weren't convinced before to get the jab, I'm sure you are now that fella decided to make that little video. In any case, guys, I'm here live with Aydin Paladin once again. We'll bring her in right now.
So, yeah, extremely persuasive that was, wasn't it? Yes. I'm convinced.
If anything, and I've mentioned this many times before on my streams, if anything, that should show you the lack of busyness that these people have in the Capitol. In fact, I know, or I've met someone personally that was a congressman's aide, and he said he showed up to work 2 or 3 times a week. He didn't do anything when he was there, and he made $70,000 a year. So there you go, folks.
Well, at least we don't have any waste in the U.S. government.
Right.
Thank goodness.
So
it's a good thing we have taxes to pay for these people. Sorry for the damn seagulls.
Yes, the seagulls. Sten says, "Why are you trying to make me vomit today?" I wasn't, buddy. I had to find something to open up the show. So, you know. Interestingly, I put this in the YouTube earlier because addressing anti-commie, and YouTube deleted that. So
oh wow, we.
But didn't delete this one.
Oh, you can't say that.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, it's weird. That's an interesting. Not to go off on a super tangent, but isn't it interesting that that's a word that it totally depends on who you are if you can say it or not.
I don't know. Queer just means odd, so it.
Well, I've only ever been suspended from Twitter seriously. Like I got like a weird 1-day ban for literally nothing, and then they took it away within the 1 day I was supposed to be banned recently. They couldn't even explain why I was banned, so they took it away before even the full thing existed. But the only time I've been banned from Twitter for like 3 days was because I used that word to refer to someone who used that word to describe themselves in their own profile, and I called them a chubby little Q, and they got me suspended from Twitter for 3 days, which is pretty funny to me, and I'll never stop talking about how funny that is to me because it was in their bio. Just shows you how, like, I'm using the word you use to describe yourself, but for some reason when I say it, it's a bad word.
Right. Well, of course. I mean, this was the whole Carlos Maza Crowder thing.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Where Maza says in his, I don't know, I don't follow the guy, but I guess he said in his Twitter bio that he is a lispy queer.
He called himself that, yep.
For repeating that, YouTube demonetized Crowder. So
yeah, how fascinating. So I mean, whatever. Like, it's clear that these are weird word games that Twitter is playing with people. I'm sorry, but if you call yourself now, by the way, I've heard people refer to themselves but with the F word, okay, and not fuck. It's not what I mean by that.
We can say fag. That's okay.
All right. Well, I don't.
It's a bundle of sticks.
Refer to themselves as a bundle of sticks, and it's fine for them to refer to themselves that way. And by the way, they should, to reclaim the term and be like, that's fine. This is how I identify, to stigmatize the term. And I completely actually agree with people who want to do that. Same thing with the N-word. That's what rappers have been doing for the last 40 years at this point.
Well, the language game, like all these games, are all about power. They're not about principles or the good of anybody except for the person trying to exploit them. So whether it be the N-word or just say fag or queer, or whatever else, those are all things that folks are basically say you can't say because that is my special word to say. I can say it whatever, but it's a way for me to have power over you and shame you, and that's just ridiculous. They're
Yeah,
just words.
there's people in America who can say if they claim to be gay or transgender, gay and transgender, and they are black, or if they claim to be black, like the what's her name, Rachel Dolezal types, then they can just go out there and drop every freaking word that otherwise you would not be able to say, that it would be instant ban from public society. Just go say that stuff. And by the way, I think you should be able to say all of it. I think I should be able to say all of it too, though. That's the issue, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's part of the reason why I made this channel all minus one. It's from On Liberty, John Stuart Mill. That there's a reason to have free speech, and it doesn't matter if everyone else in the world disagrees with me. I'm going to stand my ground. There's consequences to that, but I'm willing to accept them because I'm going to live as a free person, regardless. So
yeah, man, that's why I respect that shit, dude. Absolutely,
right,
100%.
And speaking of which, this is kind of what we're talking about today. We're talking about the COOF and our freedom and freedom of choice and what people decide to choose versus these mandates that they're trying to put on people, or vax passes or whatever else. So we'll get into that. Aydin has a particular study she wants to cover, but before we do all that, folks, I want to remind everyone there is an entropy link in the YouTube, and it should be on the D Live stream. You can go over the entropy if you want to send me a paid chat. That's how you can do that if you would like to donate, or you can donate to me directly through a PayPal, which is also in the YouTube description. And folks, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Help the channel grow. Share this out to your friends. Do the thing, right? The thing.
Do the thing.
All right. So I want to bring this up. I'm sure many of you have seen this, right? This is Dr.
Oh, this is great.
Dr.
Look
Senator
at the
Rand Paul.
COVID warning at the bottom, by the way.
Yes. Dr. Senator Rand Paul.
Dr. Senator.
Yeah. Hopefully the volume on this will be good, folks. Let me know if it's not. You never know with StreamYards.
It's time for us to resist. They can't arrest all of us. They can't keep all of your kids home from school. We don't have to accept the mandates, lockdowns, and harmful policies of the petty tyrants and bureaucrats. We can simply say no, not again.
And this is important too, because we're not resisting that much here in the States. We really aren't.
We are. At a
70% of people are vaccinated.
Will we allow these people to use fear and propaganda to do further harm to our society, economy, and children? Or will we stand together and say, absolutely not, not this time, I choose freedom? Nancy Pelosi, you will not arrest or stop me or anyone on my staff from doing our jobs. We have either had COVID, had the vaccine, or been offered the vaccine. We will make our own health choices. We will not show you a passport. We will not wear a mask. We will not be forced into random screenings and testings so you can continue your drunk with power reign over the Capitol.
He's completely correct.
Right.
I mean, like, where does this stop exactly? In terms of wanting these passports, to me, that seems like wearing an armband. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not the only person who's made that. I'm like the millionth person who's made that connection. That you need to wear an armband so we can know who you are and if you're vaccinated or not. And I'm sorry, but like, to me, that is a violation of everything that we as Americans should hold dear as a part of our value of freedom.
Right. But again, I will bring up the point that, for 5-6 generations, we have an American society that has been very reliant on the federal government once the fascistic takeover happened in the early progressive era of the United States. So we don't have that within our culture anymore. To some degree, we do. But most of the time you talk to the average folk and they will say, well, why doesn't the government do this? Why don't they do that? It's the old, trope, the joke, who will build the roads, right?
Well, we'll build the roads if we need the road. It's not that complicated. I don't understand why people like the same people arguing for communism don't understand how roads get built if people need roads. I don't understand how you don't understand that. We're talking different languages here politically, and that it's. I think that's why people they cross past each other. They just fly past each other politically in terms of their discourse.
Right. Well, there's no understanding either of your average citizen of
Mhm.
basic rights and duties in the society. Like I feel like most people are just drifting along, and then they expect the government to do things, have solutions for everything, and they don't even understand that the government tends to make most things worse. They
Well,
compound
yeah.
problems. They don't generally solve them. But if I went in, we're talking about these being mandated to get vaccines with vaccine passport. If I went into a court and I told a judge, you know, I'm not doing this. I'm a free man. I'm supposed to be a free citizen. I have all these rights. He would hold me in contempt and lock me up.
That's the fucking issue. That's the
Right.
real goddamn issue. And what I'm really concerned about is that like what I'm afraid what's going to happen, and I have told you this before, what's going to happen to people who can't get these vaccines because they're immunocompromised or because because they've had cancer recently or because they've been told by their doctors, no, you cannot have this vaccine because it's too dangerous. And these are people who are the doctors who are being honest about the fact that they don't know the long-term outcomes of these vaccines because no longitudinal analysis has been conducted. And that's why I won't get it, is because there's been no longitudinal analysis conducted. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's coming from someone who understands longitudinal analysis, and that's why I won't get it. That's me personally, but I also have medical issues that make me not want to get it. So, what are the people who actually cannot? People who have been exposed to, for example, recent chemotherapy, and they cannot get this vaccine. These leftists are basically saying we should ostracize these people, and I'm wondering if they think they should be killed, because that's kind of like the vibe I'm getting, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is the thing, is all this will have to eventually devolve into violence. And
Well, that's
like,
where it seems to be going.
imagine,
We have to
imagine
engage in
though,
violence.
right. Imagine a police officer coming to your house and seeing if you're vaccinated or not. I think a lot of people will just comply. Well, that's what they're doing in Australia,
Sure,
but
sure.
they don't have weapons like we do either.
Right?
But there will be right. There will be some people that will come out with firearms. Real quick, over on Entropy, Anti-Commie sent me a mandatory N-word, and private companies will build roads like they do now, anyways. Of course, and they're more efficient at it.
Companies will build the roads. People will build the roads. The anarcho-capitalist mindset is not as stupid as it sounds. Is it stupid? A little bit, but it's not as stupid as it sounds. It's actually like the kind of basic way that people have lived. I know that commies say that's the way people lived, but that's incorrect. Anarcho-capitalism is the way that human societies worked for thousands of years.
Exactly. So, real quick, I want to play this clip of some protests, and then if you want to get into the vaccine hesitancy study that you were
Yes.
that you found that's newer than last year's, because people were giving you a hard time about it, I suppose.
Oh
But
no,
we'll
I don't
talk-
care about that. I just real quick about that study. Well, no, we'll get into it later. Let's go into
Yeah,
the first.
we'll get
thing
into it. It'll be the
later.
next thing we do, Aiden. I just want to kind of make the point here. Obviously, most of you guys are aware of this, but it is really strange that Americans are not out and protesting this stuff, that folks are just complying. It's like we have switched places with Europe, because the Europeans have always been totalitarian, but not here in America. In any case.
An organization is calling on students and workers to walk out next Wednesday, all to protest mandatory COVID shots. NTD's Miguel Moreno has that story.
Many companies, schools, and government agencies are willing to fire or punish people for turning down vaccines. Liberty Counsel, a Christian organization, says no one should be forced, coerced, or pressured to receive the emergency use COVID shots. So they're calling on workers and students to walk out in protest next Wednesday.
So this issue of vaccine mandates really has been highlighted this year, and it's become such a divisive topic. What do you hope comes out of this walkout protest?
Well, we hope that people in mass gather together and protest for freedom, because this is the antithesis of freedom, to force someone to get a shot, particularly the COVID shots, against their will. It's a violation of federal law, many state laws, and it's a clear violation of the 10 principles of the Nuremberg Code that was designed to never go down this road again, where governments or others forced people to become medical experiments. No one should be forced without informed and free consent. We've ultimately lost our freedom. So we're encouraging people, whether you've gotten the shot or not, to take August 11 as Walkout Wednesday. And you can do that at noon your time, so you can do it even during your lunch hour and go back. But you need to stand in solidarity, whether you agree with the shots, whether you don't agree with the shots. We should all come together, at least on this point, and that is no one should be forced.
Federal code does say people getting an emergency use drug have to be informed of the option to accept or refuse it, of the consequences, if any, of refusing it, and of the alternatives that are available. In Greece and France, people have already risen up in massive numbers, protesting.
Now, look at that.
Well, I think, it's an interesting thing. Where did democracy begin? It was in Europe. I think we're seeing a historical repeat, essentially, where Europe is getting pissed off about a destruction of their freedoms first, because their freedoms have been significantly diminished over the last 50 years. So now they're, of course, they can't own guns, they can't, which is a fundamental human right, in my opinion, as an adult to own a firearm. They can't own guns. They have basically no human rights anymore. The French Revolution has been defeated. So of course we find the French to be the first people who are fighting back against it, because the French have been through this before, and they were the origination of the American Revolution, came out of the French Revolution. So I'm not surprised that we're seeing a repeat of history.
Yeah. And Alex, that's right. That's some of the stuff that we're talking about. That's why I labeled this, or been labeling this little 3-part series. I'll be done with this next week. We'll get into something else. But yeah, there's a high survivability rate, and we're going to talk about the people that are at risk, as we have been talking about, as well as just how perverse this is, because there are so many other factors in life, risks, that are much higher. For instance, I've heard the statistic, or it's not a statistic per se, but I've heard that, I'm pretty sure I've seen the numbers on it, that the chances of a child dying of the coof are less than being struck by lightning. So
yes, it's about that kind of level. The people who are most at risk for death by COVID are people who are over the age of 80 or who have multiple comorbidities. That has been the case since day one. That has never changed. That has always been the case. And it doesn't mean that it's less atrocious, but that's how it is.
Right. But something like 94% of deaths are comorbidities, and 80 plus
mostly
percent
obesity or other serious issues.
Right. And 80 plus some odd percent or more are elderly of the deaths. So at life expectancy. So, we all know this, right? We all know this. Anyways, I'm going to hit play.
Vaccine mandates and government policies that ostracize the unvaccinated. Officials, doctors, and others advocating for these mandates in cities like New York say this is about keeping people safe, that it's selfish to avoid vaccination.
And think about other people, not just yourself.
That's not how it works. That's not how it works.
Right. Well, if you're vaccinated and you still have viral load and viral shedding, then what are you?
Why do you care?
Yeah.
That's the question, right? Here's the question that needs to be asked that I can't find being answered by anybody who supports this stuff, is that if that's your issue, is that you're saying like, we need everyone to be vaccinated, so I can't be in trouble. Well, aren't you vaccinated? So why do you care? Right? Aren't you're clean and clear? So why would you care? And it's the fucking fundamental fascination that I have with this bunch of Fs, that you'll hear them say, like, in the same word, that like, if you're not vaccinated, yeah, you should die. Fuck you, you should die. But then at the same time say, you're also evil if you don't get vaccinated because you're making me sick, potentially. But then why did you get vaccinated? Because what does the vaccine do then? Excuse me, you need to explain to me what your vaccine does. What is your vaccine doing if the fact that there are people who are unvaccinated can be a threat to you? Then what is the point of a vaccine? That defeats the purpose, fundamentally. I'm sorry, I'm pissed.
It's fine.
Really irritates me.
Alabaster, if there's a video you're talking about, I haven't seen it. Send it to me on
Oh,
Twitter.
yeah,
DM me.
Alabaster.
DM me. In any case,
to get a vaccination. If they don't like it, then they have to stay home.
What about individual freedoms?
Yeah, who cares? Just say the words, like.
But to others, this coercive push to vaccinate everyone against COVID is
The beginning of communism taking over in New York City.
Thank you.
What?
the beginning.
Yeah, thank you, base
You're 100
builder
years old
man.
too late there, buddy. But
In your
sure.
picnic shirt. Thank you.
Law. What anything? It's not real. It doesn't hold up to the Constitution.
Walkout Wednesday is
Oh, wait, real quick.
Joe Moreno, NTD News.
Did you see how they cut him off? Did you see how they specifically cut him saying it's not real? I don't think he was saying that COVID isn't real. He was saying that this government shit isn't real, but they totally cut him out of fucking context to make it seem like he said COVID wasn't real. Did you see that shit? That is media manipulation 101.
I don't know,
Absolute
Aiden, because I like NTD. They're pretty good. They're pretty straight. They don't really give any opinion.
You
but
think so? Then why'd they cut him out to say that?
Well, they cut people a lot. Like,
all right,
the
yeah.
news segments are pretty short. They're about 5 minutes.
True.
Yeah, let me see.
I don't know, but
Let me-
that was sus to me.
Well, let me hit play and see. So,
Of communism taking over in New York City. What mandate? What law? What anything? It's not real. It doesn't hold up to the Constitution.
yeah, he just said it doesn't hold up to the Constitution. I think he
Yeah.
meant.
I agree. I think that okay. So maybe NTD didn't mean that, but other people will take that out of context of this retired doctor, according to his underlying feature there, which was on the Chevron, that he said it's not real, and that's what they'll just say. He said it's not real. That I'm sorry. My reaction was because I know how the left will react to something like that, right? So maybe I overreacted to it, because I know that's how they react to it. Of him saying it's not real. I don't think he was saying the virus isn't real. I think he was saying that the oversteps of the government were not real. But I could be wrong. I don't know.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I don't know.
Well, whatever. Regardless.
Yeah,
Okay.
whatever.
My bigger point is they're trying to organize something, but this is, you see what the people have to say. Obviously, it's New York City. It's full of lefties. Most of New York's right leaning, actually, folks. But like most places that are right leaning, they are manipulated by the city, which is why I'm an advocate of city states. They should be separate from the state themselves.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Cities should be their own individual districts that should be counted very differently from the entire states that they exist within. 100%.
Yeah.
I know that they will get angry about that because like, well, it's not direct democracy. America has never been a direct democracy. Ding dong, get over it. Like that was on purpose. The fathers did that on purpose, so your crazy cities can't control stuff, but it's not working anymore, is it?
Yeah. Anti-commie said over on Entropy says this kind of conforms to democracy cycles or governance cycles. The trend is to anarchy back to authority, and the wheel turns endlessly. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. At least if you are a liberty-minded person or on the right or whatever, you generally see that history is cyclical, whereas the left, they have an end goal for all of humanity. It doesn't matter how many people they kill along the way, as long as eventually in 10,000 years they have their utopia. So,
well, I think that I think that the thing that you'll find with people who promote leftist politics is that they do think that it will happen within their lifetime, and they think that it's every single person who promotes leftist politics thinks that because of their promotion, they will get to become people's dog killer or whatever the position is that they want. They will be in a hierarchically above position over other humans, and they want to control other people, and that's why they promote this stuff, because they want to be the ruling class, which is really interesting and psychopathic in my personal opinion, to want to control others.
Yeah, they're all champagne socialists,
right? But I think the social media. Do you agree that the social media people who promote this stuff, they want to be the kings and queens of the social society that they're promoting?
Yeah, generally,
they don't want to be a worker, right? They don't want to be a farmer.
Well, yeah, no. I mean, my my co-host on Justify the Memes, Tank, he talks about this a lot,
Mhm.
that they all think that they're going to be writing slam poetry and be
Right,
getting
exactly.
paid a ton of stuff. Sargon, Lotus Eaters, did a
Yeah.
segment the other day of leftists on Twitter saying what's the most lefty position they have. And they were
I
talking about
saw
having,
that.
yeah, talking about having cities of musicians and this and that. And it's like, but who makes stuff, folks? Who
No,
gets
they
their
have
hands
no
dirty? Who
they have
produces things?
no, just don't you know, Bill, that stuff that like resources just come from the ground? Bill, I don't know if you know this, but there's a like thing on your wall. It's got like 3 little prongs in it, and that's where electricity comes from.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't come from anywhere. It just comes from that little hole in your wall. And, you know, if you're trying to do anything else, then you're being a weird capitalist. But that's just where electricity comes from, is the hole in your wall.
Yeah, I have a
They
lefty.
unironically believe that shit, dude. I'm not even joking. They
I
think
know.
electricity comes from the hole in their wall.
I have a lefty friend that I used to argue with on Facebook quite a good bit, and I've known her forever. And she's married to a friend of mine. I know like their whole family, whatever. So it's not anyone I'm kicking out of my life or anything. But she's drawn in by the emotional appeal, and she's not as intelligent as she likes to think that she is.
Mm.
So
Most of them aren't.
right. And well, she'll talk about how Howard, she's told me several times. She's like, well, you know where my things really changed for me was reading Howard Zim's book, whatever, The History of America, whatever it is they wrote. It's all
Oh,
agit-prop, right? And it's actually been voted on by several universities as being one of the worst historical books ever written.
Yep.
So, in any case, but she buys all that stuff, and she had mentioned, because she had severe TDS, she had mentioned that, you know, Trump's talking about clean coal. That's just funny. And I was like, right away, I was like, well, what kind of power do you use? Because I hope that they do get clean coal. And she's like, blah 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 blah. And I said, well, are you using clean energy? Because
she has no idea.
Yeah, Potomac. Well, I'm like, I'm pretty sure Potomac Edison up here,
Potomac,
they use coal, and I
That's
hope it's
coal.
clean.
That's coal, my dude. And
Yeah.
also, the way that we exhume coal now is far cleaner and far better for the environment than strip mining, which is what happened even just 50 years ago. You know, coal mining now, is coal clean? No, coal is not a clean nor a renewable resource. But states like West Virginia are absolutely still full of coal. And West
Right.
Virginia could still be a viable place to fuel the entire national energy economy, if not for the fact that the lobbyists who are pro, who are like anti-nuclear too, which makes no sense because nuclear is clean. It is a clean energy resource. Also, won't touch coal. Why is that? Oh, it's because they make money off of solar and wind. That's why, because they have vested interests in solar and wind. It's absolutely ridiculous that people can't understand this is all just a freaking money game, because it always is. Sorry about the
Right.
seagulls.
No worries. It's just funny. I hear it in the background.
I can't
In
control
any
the
case,
seagulls.
right. Well, the idea of clean coal was, you know, that they scrub it, they help the emissions be less toxic to the environment, right? Plain and simple. But she didn't understand that, much like when he talked about coyotes during the debates.
Yeah.
A million leftists on
The
Twitter
co-
went,
it's a
"What is he
literal
talking about?
animal."
Coyotes.
It's a literal they strap the baby to the back of a coyote. No, you're being intentionally obtuse. Act like an adult, please.
Well,
Deal
they're
with these
just
issues like a
tribalists.
fucking adult.
Th-
So
they- they're-
tired about that shit.
They're ingrained, they're brainwashed to believe that you know, the Democrats are the good guys. I've had people literally tell me that. Everyone knows the Democrats are the good guys. Come on.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
I'm sure you're correct. There are people
everybody
who
knows
believe
that
that.
someone who says that's an idiot. I mean, that's
But I mean, are you really? If people are really thinking by good guy, bad guy mentality, then you're politically illiterate. Let's start by that. You are politically illiterate if you go by good guy, bad guy mentality.
right. So this is the video, guys. I'm not going to play it because I haven't seen it. And I don't want to get the. I don't want to get another strike. If you guys didn't know, I had a strike, which is why I didn't stream Friday. On the stream that Aiden and I did 2 weeks ago, came up Friday morning, last Friday, and I did beat it. So that was good, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to stream until this Friday coming, or Saturday even.
Yeah, I think it's a
But
2-week ban.
what's that?
I think it's a 2-week ban the first time. So yeah.
No, it's 1 week, but it
Oh,
would
it's 1 week. Okay.
but it would have went from Friday all the way through to the next Friday. It would be
Oh,
Saturday
okay.
before I
Yeah.
could stream. So, but in any case, I'll look at this later. But if you guys want to find it, it's on Eliza Schaefer's Twitter as well. Or if
It
you're,
looks like Sebastian Gorka has also tweeted it out. So
Yeah. so there is that. In any case, I'll come back to that later. So, Aiden, let's talk about this study that you wanted to talk about, and we'll get into some other things here in a bit.
Yeah. So what I spoke about last week, I mentioned a study, or 2 weeks ago now, where I mentioned a study that found essentially that 15% of medical professionals, PhD students, or excuse me, not PhD, but medical students, said they would not get the vaccine unless forced to. This is way worse. So when I posted that, people were like, "You dumb ding dong." This is from December. These data don't mean anything anymore, which, by the way, if you're somebody who thinks that like data don't matter because they're 6 months, 7 months old, stop. First of all, because that's incorrect. Data are important because of how they indicate to us. Data is an indicator of how people feel when we're talking about social sciences, such as this is a social science report. It doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it does mean things, particularly when we compare them. So 15% of medical students in December of 2020 said they would not get the vaccine under any circumstances unless they were forced to by their institution or by the place that they were working. Now, if we look at these data, which were published in July 23rd of 2021, we see that's actually far worse than that. So if you'll scroll down, by the way, for me to page 18.
You said table 1, right? That's
table 1 on page 17, excuse me.
well, I got 15 here. So
Is it 15? Oh, maybe it's different. If you're on table 1, though, and we'll scroll down to where it says
18th
education
table
level.
2, Aiden.
Okay.
Yeah, so here we go.
It'll say education, table 1, education level. Did you find that part? Yeah, there we go. Scroll down a little
Where's
bit
that?
more. Scroll down just a little bit more. One more page. There we go.
Uh-huh.
Education level. There it is. That's what I wanted to point out, because the thing that's been said is that, like, oh, well, if you're a big, smart Dr. Fauci-esque type, then you'll want to get this vaccine. Well, let's look at what these data actually indicate. No, that's not what it indicates. So I want to be very explicit into what these data mean and how to read them. So the first line that you're going to see there that's the 95% confidence interval, and then the second lines, the lines 3 and 4 are going to be the COVID vaccine hesitancy, which will be an RR 95% confidence interval, and the adjusted 95% confidence interval. What the adjusted rate means is that was when they adjusted for people who had personal health problems. Okay. So I'm going to cover this really quickly to understand what this means. So if we're looking at people via education level alone, which we have up here on the screen, I think.
Hold on. I did have it, but now it's
it's a big.
Now my mouse
document,
is
don't worry
being
about it.
Someday, folks,
There it is, there it
I'll
is,
get
there
a
it
new
is.
mouse someday.
There it is. So if we're looking at these, the three lines of data there on the right hand side, right? 1, 2, 3, you'll see them. Don't worry about that left hand side. That's N data. That's population style data. But what this means is, so like the 95, this is like 92,005. That's just how many participants. I believe that's the N. Yeah, it is. And then the number next to that is the percentage level. So we can. So 13%, for example, are missing data, like who didn't say what their education level. 17.5% is less than high school. So if we look then to the columns to the right, we can see the 95% confidence interval, the with the RR, and then with the adjusted RR, which in this case means, again, people who had reticence about taking the vaccine because or excuse me, who were more willing to take the vaccine as the adjusted interval because they had personal health issues. So the basic number, which will be the middle column of these three, if we look at that and we say less than high school, the median is 1.88. PhD is 2.16. That means that PhD students, people who have, excuse me, not PhD students, people who have a PhD are less willing to get the vaccine than people who have less than a high school diploma. Okay. The bachelor's is 1. That's the basis. Some college 1.6. We can look at this on both sides. Even when it has been adjusted for, PhDs are less willing to get vaccinated than people who have less than a high school diploma.
Well,
But
supposedly the CEO of Pfizer has not taken his own shot. So
no, of course they won't. People, the PhDs are less willing to get, and with the adjusted rate, and these are the people who have reasons for not wanting to get the vaccine because they have personal health issues. If we look at the last line there, the line on the furthest right hand side, PhDs are less willing to get the vaccine than people with a high school diploma, people with some college degree, but more so than people with a bachelor's or a master's, or professional degree like a JD. So a lawyer degree. But PhDs are, interestingly, very unwilling to do this. Why would that be the case? And that's the big question that I guess I have for everybody, which is that why are these people who are highly educated the least willing to get vaccinated outside of people who have no education, essentially, no advanced education? And that's the real question. I think it's because people know too much. And I mean, that's my personal opinions, because I know, and anyone who has a PhD, not everyone, actually that's not true, but most people who have PhDs are people who have learned how to conduct research on their own because it's part of their program to get a doctoral degree, has to learn how to conduct research. And that's not the case for master's programs. That's definitely the case for PhD programs. Why you see that drop in the master's program, I think. But for PhD program, yeah, you have to kind of figure out how to conduct research. And once you understand how to conduct research, you would understand why there are major flaws in the things we're seeing with the COVID vaccine research programs. Seriously, deep concerns. When these people who have PhDs have had to work for 2 years to conduct their stupid studies to get their own PhD, it takes 2 years to do that, and they find that this serious medical research happens within 9 months. Yeah, of course they're reticent about it. Of course they are concerned by that. Just to point this out, that the people with the highest level of education are about as concerned as people who have no education. Just want to make that super clear.
yeah, and interestingly, I have a buddy who's a cognitive psychologist, has his PhD. He worked for Facebook, Google, works for I think works for Quora now. He got the jab, but he travels. In fact, he had been living in Hawaii the last 6 months or something like that because he was working at home. So I would understand for that reason. And he's around now because his mom's in bad health. But I mean, there might be reasons or justifications, but at the same time, I consider this guy, a smart guy. He's been a friend of mine for, I don't know, 15, maybe 20 years now. I don't even know. But he had lefty beliefs, and it wasn't until more recently that he's gotten a little bit more red pilled, and part of that had to do, I think, with him and his wife splitting up. So it's like, we all go through evolutions of things, and again, like I said in the beginning, just because you're educated doesn't mean anything, or just because you're intelligent if you're not using your brain in the first place,
right?
And so people aren't living their lives intentionally, which is why they're just going along with this. And they're like, I went along with this. I'm a little slave. Why aren't you? I mean, that's kind of what's going on here.
Look at the non-adjusted numbers. So the people who didn't have actual personal issues with COVID, it's the line 1 over to the left on PhD. The PhDs are, yep. The PhDs are the most vaccine hesitant when non-adjusted for out of the entire data set. Why is that the case? The reality is because they know too much about it, and people are like, you hate science, you hate science. No. It's because we know way too much about science, which is why we won't believe things without question. I'm going to use the restroom real quick. I think you got some chats. I'll be right back. Give me one second.
Yeah. Go for it. Go for it, Aydin. Holly, yeah, I mean, I don't think that is completely arbitrary. You're right about what kind of PhD it is, but as Aydin was pointing out, most would have advanced skills and research. So one of the big differences in like in a person like me who's autodidactic versus somebody who's goes to university or went to a university and has at least a master's or maybe PhD training is that they're actually trained in a particular method. And this is why Aydin gets all autistic about saying data are, right, instead of data is. But those things get drilled in your head. And of course, it matters the type of school that you go to. There's lots of factors. But the bottom line there is, and I think her point is that these folks understand that there's a research process, and that process didn't happen here. We had Operation Warp Speed. Even the creator of the mRNA vaccines has been saying that they should not be used in this manner. In fact, I should probably pull this up. I'll see if I can find it here in a minute when Aydin gets back. But that the vaccine should not be used in this manner because what they're going to do is create a super bug, potentially, many different variants, because it's going to adapt. It will mutate. And what the vaccines should have been used for were those folks who were at risk, meaning those who were extremely obese, have certain comorbidities, or are at life expectancy. And frankly, if this thing makes you go sterile, which who knows, but if it does, those people aren't going to be having any kids anyways. So I don't have so much a problem with that. Maybe I would take it if I was at that age. Now, I have a problem with, like, for me, my parents took it primarily because my sister wanted them to take it. And like her family is vaxxed, except for her kids who aren't old enough to get it. But again, it doesn't seem to do much. It gives you a little bit better protection from the virus if you get it. But like the survivability of this is really high anyways. Sorry, guys, if I'm a little stuttery today. I'm very, very tired. I was up to like 4 a.m.
Sorry, I just got some Red Bull.
Yeah, no worries.
Same thing.
Like two days in a row, I was up until 3 a.m. the day before that. So for a while there, I was getting to bed by midnight, 1 o'clock, and getting up kind of early. So again, though, these vaccines aren't supposed to be used this way. Again, the creator of the mRNA vaccine, the use of mRNA for a vaccine, and it's not even a vaccine, it's a prophylactic.
Yep.
But as he has said, this is not to be used en masse the way it's being used because it will create variants and it will be worthless. So that's a really important thing to understand. And again, all we're doing here is just kind of trying to bring up the information. Always have to worry about YouTube yeeting me or whatever. We talked about this 2 weeks ago, and it got yeeted, and then I got it back up. But still, they don't want you to know the information, and this is the thing that makes me really skeptical. If these people are saying these things, if the creator of the PCR test is saying you can't use it this way, and blah 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 blah, and we're all going about and doing these things regardless, and saying trust the scientism, then what is the real true agenda here? And I think Holly said earlier something about them ramping up the climate change thing here again. So for me, all this goes back to Great Reset, enslave the masses, globalism, let's control the people. How do we get a hold of the American mind? And how do we demonize those folks who want to live freely and have liberty? That's what all this is about in my mind. I don't see anything else that this could be.
I just find it extremely interesting when it's the same group of people who are saying trust the scientists, trust the people who have these high advanced degrees, and yet the people who have the most advanced degrees don't trust it. I mean, this is fairly clear here in these data. They don't trust it, myself included. Just don't. I don't only have a master's, but I was also a PhD student, so whatever.
Right. Well, but you left before you finished, right? So, I mean.
Yeah, it was because of personal shit, but
right. I understand.
But I was working. I worked and I published, and I worked in the PhD field. I taught college, so my opinion is probably far closer to a lot of other PhDs than it is against them. Also, a lot of master's degrees are in things like English more so than they are in things like science. That's just I find it very fascinating that the PhDs don't trust this shit.
What do you think of this comment? Could be because PhDs tend to be more hippie type lefties and thus don't like vaccines. I don't think that most of them are hippie type lefties. I think they're authoritarian lefties. Not all of them, but depending on what field you're in. They tend to be anti-vaccine. The whole anti-vax thing, that was Robert Kennedy, really. He's the big anti-vax guy. And he's not even an anti-vax guy. He just doesn't like the modern schedule. And I don't either. My daughter will not be getting vaccines at the current CDC schedule. It's just, it's not appropriate. They want to give them a Hep B vaccine for no reason, basically. Like, because potentially the mother could have it. Well, test my wife. Pretty sure she doesn't have it. So,
Right.
stuff like
Well,
that.
first of all, that's No Leaf Clover, who's a person I know on Twitter and is very cool.
Yeah.
So I think as someone who was asking maybe me more of a question, but I think that why I don't think that the people who are very highly educated are getting vaccinated at the same degree, and I truly do believe that. I don't know if we have data on that, but my guess is that the PhDs are not getting vaccinated. And we know for a fact that a lot of MDs and nurses are not getting vaccinated. So
Right. Talking about
that's
losing their jobs.
disconcerting.
Yeah. Shelley has a good point here. We have PhDs in our office, ultra good at details, horrible at big picture. I
absolutely
100% agree. This is my problem with academia, which is why I can never get myself through it, because it's like, dude, when you were this hyper laser focused on something, you're missing all of everything else. And it's why some years ago I looked really interesting. Like Georgetown has a PhD program for liberal arts, which sounds weird, but the idea is that you could study multiple disciplines and kind of have your thesis on how these disciplines come
You
together.
went to Georgetown, man?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. This was some years ago. I looked. I don't know if they still have it.
I thought you went to Georgetown. You said you went to
No.
Oh, okay.
I wish that'd be cool. Even though I'm not a fan of the Jesuits, that'd just be good for resumes.
And they would not give me a nice deal, so I denied the Georgetown acceptance.
I did date a girl that went to Georgetown.
I feel like I'd be a very different person had I went to Georgetown.
Yeah, I literally dated this girl. She was in IT, and someone told her she's so like thick-headed or whatever. Someone told her that she couldn't be a lawyer or whatever, so she applied to law school in Georgetown and got in.
Law school at Georgetown and got in. Holy shit! That's you don't do any better than that though. So good for her. I guess
she's Pakistani, so she's got that mindset of like work. Yeah.
Well, she is covering some government official if she went to Georgetown that has a law degree. Holy fuck, dude.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was an aside. Georgetown's a very good school. I declined. I was accepted there, but I declined because they wouldn't give me a good scholarship. So, and I wasn't going to take on the debt because I've never done that. It's interesting though about the vaccines. I've seen other people mention like, oh, but everybody gets vaccinated. Everybody gets vaccinated as a kid. You all get the MMR vaccine. That's measles, mumps, and rubella, right? Well, that's not exactly true. I have data on that as well. And people get it, but the reality is that I'll just read you from my script. If you're willing to hear me read this. Basically, people who were afraid of needles, they didn't want to get the MMR vaccine. But the people who are the least willing to get it were those who had a high need for cognitive closure. That is, the people who really want to know more about the vaccine. So what I think we're finding here is something that's very similar to the MMR vaccine hesitancy, in that people who are just like, what the fuck does this do? And when the governments, and by governments I mean plural, are being very abstract about what the vaccine is, what it does, how it works, well then people who are high in need for cognitive closure are not going to get it. And by the way, that high need for cognitive closure in this study, and the study that I'm citing right here, it's going to be one second. Lunz and Trujillo, it's Lunz and Trugilo et al. 2020. Lunz Trujillo is their last name. It's one name, excuse me. 2020. They found that people who had this high need for cognition, essentially, they knew a lot about the vaccines, and there was no political relationship, so that there was no indication that people who were reticent about vaccines were more likely to be conservative or democratic, well, whatever you want to call it, liberal. No relationship there. So my only point in that is people who are very intelligent, as that previous study we looked at showed, people who have these PhDs who are very highly intelligent, well, maybe not intelligent, but highly educated,
it doesn't matter about their political beliefs either. They are going to be reticent about vaccines if they don't have more information. That's exactly what the Lone Hilo data and the study that we posted here, which is the King, Rubenstein, Reinhardt, Mayha study. Yeah. Sorry, trying to be clear and accurate and thorough.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. Real quick, guys, I want to remind you, some of you guys are new to the channel, to like, share, subscribe, the thing. Also in the description on YouTube, as well as on DLive, there are links to an Entropy. That's a way that you could send a pay chat if you like, or just be in spicy chat. You can say whatever you want and not have things redacted, because Entropy is a free speech platform. So with that, let's talk about these vaccines and some rushed vaccines in the past. And now I've talked about the case we brought it up on here before, back in the 70s, where people were getting neurological issues. And here in the UK, this is way back from 2009.
The ancient time of 2009.
Yeah. If you guys can remember that far back, before Orange Man and Badness, Cheeto Hitler, before wokeness even. In 2009, we had a God King. He was our president, a God King. He was gay and half black.
Yeah.
And he was really clean and articulate, according to Joe Biden.
Although, what's funny is that apparently if you use the word articulate to refer to a black person, that's racist. Did you know that? I hate when I'm like, wow, that person is extremely verbose and articulate. Like, that's a racist thing to say up to a black person. Like, what if they're verbose and articulate?
What do we talk about? What do we talk about at the very beginning when we opened up, though?
Exactly.
This is people using words for power.
Exactly.
It's stupid. When people do this stuff to me, I tell them they're idiots and I walk away. Basically, it drives me nuts, because the only other thing I'm going to do is wring their neck otherwise.
Well, it drives me nuts, man, because I'm not a racist. So when it's like, oh wow, that person's very verbose and articulate, and they have they're very compelling, I'll be like, how dare you say nice things about a black person? Basically, because that's how they feel. Is that, how dare you, as a white person who doesn't agree with my politics, say that you think a black person is verbose? Well, I don't know. Is that because you're a racist that you think black people aren't supposed to be verbose? All right, cool for you. Good. Let's go.
Yeah, Anti-Commie sent another donation over on Entropy. Said diaper fund top up. Yeah, that will pay for some diapers, and you're being very generous, Auntie. I appreciate that. I know I'll probably talk to you Friday on Sniper Stream if I'm over there, but appreciate it very much. If you got money to burn, folks, I will take it.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm totally like dragging this down. Let's go through it. I know we're only supposed to be on here for an hour and a half. We got like 40 minutes left. Let's go.
Yeah, we're fine. We're fine. So let's hit play here, guys. As always, if for some reason there's no volume, say something in the chat, folks. Let me know.
Within weeks, the first swine flu vaccine could be at doctors' surgeries. A drug has been approved by European regulators. Pandemrix has been granted a license. The decision is set to be rubber-stamped by Brussels in the next few weeks. Stocks of another vaccine made by Baxter are already here, but that hasn't been approved for use. The government hopes to vaccinate those in high-risk groups first: asthma sufferers, the elderly, and health workers high up on the priority list. They could all get treated in October. But dozens of family doctors are suggesting they won't take up the vaccine, prompting concerns over its effectiveness. Bristol GP Zara Aziz says that may be down to the desire for more significant research.
Now, if this was said today about any of the stuff being pushed today, these doctors would be banned, right?
Well, they are still saying this stuff. A few doctors are brave enough to say it. They're brave enough to publish that research I just read. I read their names. Please don't anyone go fuck with them. People, I'm sure, are. Public Health University of Pittsburgh, PA, I'm sure, is getting a bunch of shit. And Carnegie Mellon, which is where those data originated. So yeah. I'm sure that they're getting death threats and stuff just for saying that they
just for reporting data, not even saying that they themselves wouldn't take it, but for reporting data, I'm sure they're getting death threats. Why is that? It's clearly political if that's where it's going, right?
Right. And this is 12 years ago, guys. So why wasn't this political then? This was just science then. Now everything's political, of course. So again, I'm going to let this play.
No,
There's a
base black man was president when this happened.
right. Well, not long afterwards, Trayvon Martin could have been a son. So
Right.
things got really weird in the country. So, anyways,
I think where a lot of times people are not sure about taking the vaccine amongst healthcare staff, it's not always because of the fact that they're unsure about the safety data, but it might be that they're wanting to have more data being presented. And studies that have been published so far have actually been on small groups of patients.
There has been a rise in the number of people coming down with swine flu. It's up to 218 this week from 143 last week. 66 schools have now been hit by outbreaks, but Chief Medical Officer Sir Liam Donaldson isn't overly concerned.
Is something that we
I remember when this happened, by the way.
so
I was in college.
the swine flu and the avian bird flu were
It was
all
the
hyped
avian
up.
bird flu, yeah.
They were
They were really
trying to
hyped
get
up.
people all scared, much like the coof. Didn't happen, didn't work. Back then, you had reasonable minds who were doctors, like in the entertainment business, like Dr. Drew. Dr. Drew
Yeah.
Pinsky.
By the way,
still
Dr.
great.
Drew is still
great.
being, if you guys don't know, I will shill for his podcast. It's Dr. Drew After Dark. If you can find it, it's on your Mom's House Podcast Network. It's fantastic. He has not been super promotive of this vaccine, even though he has taken it himself. And precisely the reason why is because of the reason that we're talking about here, that, not everyone should take this necessarily based on their medical history. And also because these vaccines have not been tested. Dr. Drew has been super open about this. I truly respect Dr. Drew. I've liked him for 20 years, my entire life. Back when
I was
he used to
watching
be
him on
like,
Loveline, 25 years ago.
Yes, back on Loveline, man. It was great back there, but he's still doing it to this day. And check out Dr. Drew on Dr. Drew After Dark. But he has not been super supportive of this vaccine either. And I think it's because he is a medical professional.
Yeah, and he was saying in the beginning that this is going to be much like other pandemics that we've been through. And he said he worked in the hospital during the swine flu and
yes, he did.
Avian bird flu, and he said it was horrible. He said he had it, but we survived. We moved on. He doesn't believe in all the lockdowns. He doesn't believe in all these crazy things that they're pushing.
Exactly.
This isn't about the disease, folks. It's about other agendas.
And they're calling him like right wing for this stuff, but I've been listening to Dr. Drew for 20 years. He is not right wing. He's just a medical professional. And people who think like that, this is the ridiculousness of trying to ascribe politics to medical professionals who don't necessarily have a political belief. And I don't think Dr. Drew does. Dr. Drew just is a doctor and he looks at the data as he sees it. I truly believe that, having listened to him for 20 fucking years,
I think he leans conservative, but I would say he's center right.
I don't think that. He has very left-leaning positions, but
that's why. But that is center right. I
guess
know.
Okay, I guess it's center right now. Supposedly.
So
poor guy.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that Overton window keeps shifting. So let's finish this. It's only 30 more seconds, and then there's another video I want to play afterward.
Incidence of flu is amongst school-age children and young adults. They're at school now, having gone back after the summer holidays. So this is the sort of sign that we would have expected when we started to see the incidence picking up again, which it is now.
25 patients remain in intensive care, but 82 people in the UK have now died from the virus. And with predictions of a second wave of swine flu victims this autumn, the latest vaccine announcement will come as welcome news.
Yeah,
all
very
right.
interesting in retrospect.
Yeah. So
Also,
real quick note, guys, if I disappear, I'll get back on. Aydin should still be here. But if I disappear, it's because my internet went out, because there looks like there is a storm a brewing around here.
Oh shit, dude.
Hopefully I'll be fine. I'm not running OBS anymore, so hopefully this works out.
Did you see the shit though about how like the number of people who are in the hospital in the UK with COVID, 40% of them have been vaccinated? And what's getting, sent to people is 60% are unvaccinated. Well,
That's lies, damn lies, and statistics. I think we talked about this before. Yeah, I really hate that. Be
Yeah.
very aware of what that means. It
Yeah.
means half. It means half of the people have the vaccine and they're being hospitalized. So,
Well, all you have to do is look at the Israeli data because everyone's
oh yeah,
vaccinated there.
everyone's vaccinated.
Everyone's vaccinated, therefore
95%, something like
right.
that. Yeah.
And they're the majority of the patients. So you know, and again though, guys, mostly this is a matter of you
Talk to your doctor, please.
right. You talking to your doctor, of course, you taking care of yourself, you being healthy, and not basically demanding that other people take care of you for you. 'Cause
Yes. It doesn't make any sense. Right. Well,
Right.
Bill, like how can it make any sense
that if I have this vaccine that's supposed to protect me from the virus, why would I care if someone else doesn't have it? This is
Exactly.
this is the question. Why would you care if you've been vaccinated against it if other people don't have it? Because I've seen some really nasty stuff posted on Twitter and other places where people are basically being like, "I can't wait to see unvaccinated people die." They say that stuff very publicly and openly,
Right.
and
And
then
we were talking about before the show started,
Yeah.
Tim Pool's segment at 1 p.m. He was talking
Right,
about
right.
how these people want universal health care, except for when you don't do what they want.
Right, and then they want you to die.
Because
They actively say they want unvaccinated people to die.
right.
I
Because this
can't
is never
believe it.
it's not principles, it's always about power for them.
It's all politics. It's always
Yeah.
politics, which is unbelievable. Like you can't come at me and act like you're this liberal who cares so much about other human beings, and then also be like, "Oh yeah, but also I want those people to die." No, go fuck yourself. You don't care about anyone else but yourself. And also you don't care about even yourself. You care about your politics. You care about your we call it face work in communication, right? It's face work. You're presenting your face to the public. You don't even care about your own personal health. You care about the way that your face is being presented to other people. And that kind of stuff, that's really messed up. You don't even care if you live or die. You care more about how other people perceive you. And that's screwed up. Just saying, in my opinion, that's screwed up.
Oh, well, have you seen this one, Aiden?
Oh, what did Philly say? Jesus Christ.
Well, he's a sophist, so whatever. But
Well, yeah, he is. So
yeah, I know. I know. It says, F man, damn it. This isn't me. I missed the mark, blah, blah, blah. And this was a thing. I apologize for my last tweet saying that you're dumb if you have the eligibility and access to get the vaccine. No, I think you're dumb if you're healthy and young and get this because you don't need it.
Yeah.
You know?
Also, I already had it. I'm
Right.
getting like attacked by people, not a lot, but some people get mad at me because they're like, "Oh, you're like denier of science." And I was like, "Well, that's a very hard statement for people to make against me, I would say. Given my entire history on the internet, you could call me a lot of things. A science denier would be that's a difficult one to make. But why I have not is because, you know, my partner and I would like to have children in the next couple of years. And I don't feel comfortable with a vaccine that has no longitudinal data coming from for me to take that as someone who already has issues with fertility that I've been very open about. I have stage 5 endometriosis, a very severe form of that disease. And for me to try and take a vaccine that we don't even know if it has fertility issues, that would be potentially deleterious to my own ability to have children. And so that's why personally I have avoided taking it. That's just me, my own personal reason why. That and because I'm young relatively and I don't have a reason to take it. And I've had it. So I have every reason to not take it. I've had the disease. I also don't, I've already had it. I had it last freaking March. So whatever. I think that there are many reasons why people don't want to take these vaccines that are untested. Just saying.
Right. Well, I mean, here he's saying, I'm done trying to convince you that's over. I'm just going to mock you for believing a bunch of F-face grifters monetizing misinformation or ignoring or ignorance over science using the most recent and relevant info. This isn't, you're the one who's doing the grift here, buddy, because you're not looking at any science. I've gone through the data over and over again. I've almost sacrificed my channel for it. You know how many times I've only been streaming for a year.
Mm-hmm.
You know how many times I have had to beat a strike? I think 5 times now. So it's not like I'm not trying to push forward with this stuff and show you guys the truth. But Phil DeFranco probably doesn't know anything about this.
Oh,
So
Philly DeFranco doesn't give a shit because he can just go to his YouTube rep and have any fucking strike removed.
well, he's
Philly-
also a millionaire from doing his stuff.
That's what I
so-
mean.
Right.
Exactly. He doesn't
Right.
know anything about this shit.
Well, this is weird. Huh. Sorry, I just saw something.
Uh-oh.
No. It's perfectly fine. I just saw that this has got my personal. There we go. I must have logged in on
Okay,
this
well,
earlier with my other.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. You're fine. With my personal YouTube account instead of this channel's. But anyways, let me hit play, guys. You'll find out what happened with that vaccine.
And good morning from Wiley News. The situation in Egypt remains tense ahead of a massive protest planned for today. Opposition leaders are calling on supporters to demonstrate in their millions after 8 days of demonstrations against President Hosni Mubarak. Crucially, the army has pledged not to use force against protesters.
Protesters are gathering in central
Here we
Cairo
go. Sorry,
today
guys. I
ahead of
thought this full video was here, but let me.
It's all right.
Or right here.
In children. The national narcolepsy in children. To monitor fishing activity. Here in Finland, a report released within the past hour confirms a link between the swine flu vaccine and cases of narcolepsy in children. The National Narcolepsy Panel's interim report suggests that the Pandemrix vaccination increases the risk of narcolepsy in children nearly tenfold. More than 50 Finnish children who were given the vaccine last winter subsequently came down with narcolepsy. The nation's highest-ranking physician, Risto Pelkonen, says these narcolepsy patients...
Wow, he pronounced that Finnish
reimbursed
name
by
really
state.
well.
Former
With all their weird weird sounds.
Foreign Minister...
Oh, just don't look at a
Johanna
Finnish word. It's nothing but use.
Yeah.
Elected to report at least 6,000 euros in campaign.
Okay, so there's that. Here's one from Al Jazeera.
Yeah, perkele.
Nearly all governments around the world are advising their citizens that vaccines are the best protection from H1N1, commonly known as swine flu. But many doctors and nurses are refusing the shot themselves.
Governments do like epidemics and just seem to like war, really. It's
Thank you.
a chance to impose their will on us and to get us all scared so that we huddle together and do what we're told.
London-based Dr. Damien Downing.
This dude is
Thank you, Dr.
based.
Downing. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Downing, for being honest about this shit.
Yeah. Remember, guys, this is from
2009.
2009.
Downing says he's been advising patients in his Harley Street practice to increase their vitamin D intake.
Wow, it sounds familiar.
He believes has been rushed.
I haven't seen the data, and I don't believe that the data is there to prove that it is safe. There are a lot of people out there who've reported adverse reactions already.
In Sweden, those adverse reactions have included 8 people who died in the days after receiving GlaxoSmithKline's Pandemrix vaccine, although Sweden's health regulator denied any link, explaining that all patients were on chronic medical treatment and there is nothing to support a causal association between the vaccination and the death. It's not only many health workers worried about H1N1 vaccines. The Prime Minister of Poland says his government won't be buying any, citing a lack of thorough testing. In an effort to allay fears of the 2.5 million Hajj pilgrims heading their way, the Saudi health minister was one of the first to receive a very public vaccination to prove it's safe.
Qatar and Saudi Arabia are distributing the vaccine called Pandemrix. It's the same vaccine as that which was used in Sweden. It contains ingredients called thiamersyl and adjuvants, which are seen as controversial by some, but fully approved for use by the World Health Organization.
We believe that all vaccines which have been licensed for use are safe.
The World Health Organization's Gregory Hartl says any lingering reluctance to the vaccine is being overcome, with around 70 million doses distributed worldwide.
It's difficult to explain. It's a very personal decision whether or not to get vaccinated.
How
For us,
interesting.
it's quite clear. Vaccine.
Isn't the WHO? I haven't looked at their guidelines in a while. Aren't they still going with that though?
I don't think so. Well, I think
They
that
don't
that's probably
advise
the
lockdowns. I know
WHO.
that.
The
They don't.
WHO is not as also dobre to the fucking Pole who was talking there earlier, but um, I don't think the WHO is the one who's enforcing this. Of course, it's the U.S. government and individual states. So
Right.
that's the issue, is that it's individual states who are saying you have to ascribe to these mandates that they're forcing people to ascribe to for a vaccine that we do not know anything about.
Here, but this is global, and
Right.
and of course, someone mentioned it earlier, but Holly did, I think. Um, it's endemic. It's not going anywhere. We have to live with it. Is living with it meaning that we need to inject ourselves with medical experimentation all the time? I mean, this doesn't.
I mean, what do you want me to say? Like, I don't know what the outcome of this will be. There's a very real possibility it could be very bad. So there's the ADE possibility. There's also the possibility for what's it called? Markov syndrome or something like that. I think it's
Markov
called
syndrome?
like Merrick's disease. That's it.
Merrick's disease. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't remember the name of it. So Merrick's disease is the possibility that if everybody gets vaccinated, then the disease will mutate to a point where anyone who's not vaccinated will die pretty much instantly, right? That's the real fear. Then there's the ADE, which is the antibody dependent enhancement, which would be that people who are vaccinated might die because of they already have parts of the virus within themselves. And that would include people like myself who have had the vaccine, or not the vaccine, but who have had the disease, I think might also be susceptible to this, who have the antibodies against it, and then could be susceptible to further infection. But like, I don't want to get it because I've already had COVID. I had it. I don't want to take a vaccine that is not tested. And let's be real, I don't care really what your opinion is. This is not a tested vaccine longitudinally. It has not been tested longitudinally. There's
Right.
no way anyone can argue against that. If you're just arguing, oh, just take it, like, okay, fine. But you have to admit there has been no longitudinal analysis of this disease. And if you argue against that, you're lying. That's the end of it. There was no longitudinal analysis. It's impossible for there to have been longitudinal analysis of the effects of this vaccine. And so, considering I've already had it, I'm not really prone to want to get something that hasn't been tested, considering I've already been exposed to the fucking virus. I find it very odd. Just saying. Sorry,
Yeah.
I really dislike this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I encourage everyone to to watch the UK show Utopia. I'm not saying
Yeah.
this is what's going on. Don't watch the Amazon stupid John Cusack version. I've never seen it, but I've seen clips from it, and it is horrible. This show's amazingly shot. As an artist, it's visually amazing. But also, it kind of tells the story about this overpopulation thing that all these Malthusians believe in. And guess who runs the governments, guys? Guess who runs the world? A bunch of Malthusians. Why do you think the climate thing's a big deal? But yeah, so in any case, back to this. Yeah, people are skeptical. I don't need to play the rest of this video. There was an issue. Now, narcolepsy isn't the worst thing on earth, but if that affects you, it's hard to drive if you're just going to fall asleep, right?
You can't drive, I believe, if you have narcolepsy. I
Yeah.
think you can't get a driver's license. I mean,
Yeah.
I know that it's like, oh, I think that they would say, like, in the future, it's like, if your outcome of having the COVID vaccine is that you can't drive, they'd be like, yeah, well, get over it, ding dong. It's like, well, that is kind of a big deal. It is. And
Right.
I'm saying if that were the only outcome of the COVID vaccine, but that's not, things aren't going to be like super cool, I think, for a lot of people. I'm sincerely worried about people facing serious outcomes from this. People who don't get vaccinated and people who do. I think it's going to be bad on both sides, to be honest.
Well, it's all building up the tension toward whatever civil war, civil conflict is coming,
Oh,
balkanization.
they're gonna kill unvaccinated people. I think they're gonna try to do something to kill them. It won't be in the most obvious way. It will be in a very the way that they're going. You can't go out to get right now. What they're saying, right, in some parts of certain countries, is that you can't go out to the grocery store to get food. Well, how's that gonna fucking manifest if people who are unvaccinated can't get food? So are you saying they should starve? I'm honestly wondering. Are you saying they should starve? Because that appears to be the messaging. Just wondering. It's fucked, dude.
Well, here's the thing. We know what the numbers are for deaths, right? That they're saying are deaths, regardless of comorbidities. If the person was going to die anyways, the all of a sudden new standard of projected deaths that would have been taken off later on. They wouldn't have counted. Remember, all the deaths, all these deaths are still estimates, folks. They have to look at the excess death rate later on. They have to correct that later on. We talked about this last Monday, so I'm not going to go hash over it all again. But these are the numbers, and you can look this up all over the place. I just found this little PDF document on medical malpractice. 65,000 to 200,000, a minimal annual number of deaths due to medical accidents, according to hospital records. For comparison, the total number of all-cause accidental deaths is 98,000, of which 46,000 are from auto crashes and 11,000 are workplace accidents, meaning that medical malpractice, even though the CDC doesn't track this as a statistic, because it says that auto accidents are the highest leading cause of deaths, accidental deaths, they actually kill more. It kills more people than other accidental deaths by a factor of 2, right? So, and here it says,
yeah, statistically, yes.
yeah. So here it says 25,000 to 120,000, the minimum number of the above deaths due to negligence, that is, death caused by medical malpractice each year. 0.8% to 1%, the percentage of hospital patients who become victims of malpractice. So low, but that's higher than my chance of dying of the coof, isn't it? I mean, is it not?
Yes, it is, obviously. Well, here's the thing. Your chance of being hit by lightning is, at this point, dependent on your individual health conditions. If you're a healthy, non-obese person who's under the age of like 60, your chance of dying of COVID is about the chance of being hit by lightning and dying. That's been the case since second one. And I know that people are upset by it, like, because they're afraid, but I believe that government agencies, and I truly believe that certain governmental parties have tried to make people more afraid of this disease than they really should be. I've been saying that for over a year, and that appears to be the case to me.
Yeah, and again, because I just said it's an amazing point. And if medical malpractice was treated as strongly as industrial manslaughter, the medical industry would have vastly higher standards, and they would. And you guys both are dealing with the UK system, which is,
well,
I think, vastly inferior to America. Even though America is highly socialized in its medicine, it still has some free market to
well,
it. So.
I'll tell you who would, which is that what I have heard so many people tell me, like, oh, aren't you really happy to live in the UK because you have a socialized medical system? And I have said to them, I would not wish for you to live in I would not wish for you to have to be in the UK hospital. I have been in American hospitals because of, health issues. I've been in a UK hospital because of medical issues. I would not wish on my deepest enemy to have to spend a month in a UK hospital. I truly fucking believe that, because it is and was abuse and terrible, terrible, terrible shit. And I still owe them money. I mean, I've paid most of it off, but like I didn't have, it wasn't free. By the way, people who think it's all free, it's not free. So you still have to pay for a
I'm just gonna be honest, a foreign person to abuse you. Because the nurses in these UK hospitals, do you think that they're from the UK? They're not. They're from Africa. They're from the Caribbean. They're from Eastern Europe. They are not from the UK. They are from all over the world because they come over here to make money in the UK and abuse you, and they laugh while they do it. I saw it. Not only did this happen to me, okay, sorry, but this is the truth. I saw little old ladies in other rooms around me screaming, literally screaming, as these women, these nurses laughed while they abused them. So if you think your healthcare is going to be a lot better in the UK, that's what your healthcare is going to be as an old person, is women from Spain laughing at you as they abuse you sexually and physically. Not joking. That's what I saw. I absolutely fucking saw it. It's fucked, man. It's super screwed up.
Kiz is saying here that his sister needs a procedure due to malpractice. Look, I mean, it says 4-1, the ratio of injuries and deaths caused by malpractice in hospitals to that reflected in medical records. So this is these are U.S. statistics, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
We're not looking at any socialized healthcare. Don't get me wrong, guys. We have socialized healthcare in the United States. If you don't think that we do,
Yes, we do.
You need to look into it a lot further. We absolutely do. It's highly
just
regulated.
not to the degree that the UK is. And if you think the UK is the system you want to base your society on, go ask people who have actually lived through the UK medical system and see how happy they are with their fucking healthcare. I like, this was the thing that made
Well, it's
me
the same
really
with
mad.
Canada, right? It's the same
Well,
with
it made me-
Canada.
Made me really mad, Bill. Like, because there were all these people being like, "Oh, support the NHS, support the NHS, yay, 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 yay." It's like, have you ever been actually in a hospital? Have you ever actually been in an NHS hospital? Oh, you haven't? Oh, you haven't? You have not been in an NHS hospital? Then go get fucked. Because that shit, I have seen old women be molested in a fucking NHS hospital. And so I will not say the NHS hospitals are good. Just saying. No fucking way will I stand by that shit. Fuck that crap. So I'm a little bit mad. That thing
It's
actually
fine.
makes me angry.
But, I mean, I've worked with nurses and I worked in a hospital for a while, and I used to have to do inmate transports duty at hospitals, big hospitals down, Johns Hopkins, University of Maryland, down in Baltimore.
Oh yeah.
And they're usually a little bit better quality of people, but most outside of
Not
those
necessarily.
hospitals, right? Outside of those hospital
within the
systems,
nurses, it's within the nurses where you find the real abuse.
that's what I was about to say. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I had an inmate once. I walked. He'd been complaining to me all day, and I didn't really know what was wrong with him until he sat up, because he wanted Tylenol or something, and the nurse wouldn't bring it down to him. So he sat up, and his shoulder was at his nipple line, and I was like, "Dude, you have a dislocated shoulder." And he's like, "Really?" And I said, "Well, look, I can't make a medical diagnosis."
Nurse probably did it, by the way.
No. The nurse didn't do it. He got in a fight earlier that day, but the nurses
okay.
looked at him. He had scratches on his head. They cleaned up his scratches and sent him back to his pod. We had a pod system. If you guys don't know what that is, I'm not going to get into it, but basically he went back to his housing unit. Okay. And he was there for like 8 hours, like an hour before my shift, or several hours before my shift. I'm sorry. And I think 2 or 3 hours. So he's there for like 6 hours before I brought him down to medical. And then the nurse didn't think anything was wrong with him, took his vitals. His resting heart rate was over 100 beats per minute. And she thought he was fine.
Yep, of course she did.
And
I'll tell you, man.
His shoulder is at his nipple. And like,
holy fuck, dude.
I'm telling her, you might want to call the doctor. And I said it like 5 times. I said, you really might want to call the doctor because he needs to go to the hospital. You might want to call the doctor. And she finally listened to me. I had to talk to my sergeant about it, or my lieutenant that night that was running the shift. And sure enough, his shoulder, the muscles were so tight, it had been so long, they actually had to knock him out to relocate his arm, basically.
I'm not at all surprised.
Right.
Billy, like I have an aunt who has been a nurse at one of the Baltimore, I won't say which, but at a Baltimore hospital for the last like 25 years. And the things that she has told me about how her fellow nurses will laugh at the suffering of other human beings. Most of them are Jamaican, I'm just saying. Most of them are non-Americans. They will come here and laugh and just they joke about how much they enjoy basically watching other people suffer. So I don't have a lot when these nurses go and make their stupid little TikTok videos, I don't have any fucking goddamn sympathy for you bitches when I know how you treat people. I don't fucking care. You're
look,
nasty.
I
Not
will
all of
say
you,
this.
but a lot of you are.
I will say this within the medical field, EMS, fire, rescue, public safety, generally, or military, we all have very dark humor. But there's a difference between laughing at people suffering and having some dark humor to bring some
Yeah,
levity
exactly.
to the
No, dark
situation.
humor is fine. But
Right.
I've seen it. I have seen it, and I've known it my
I've seen
entire
it.
life.
I've literally seen nurses throw things because they didn't want to get up and work. I mean, like
Yeah,
they
exactly.
acting a fool because they have an easy job, and in a jail particularly. Like, guys, you don't want your healthcare done in a jail. I can tell you right now.
Oh, absolutely
They
not.
get
We
the
don't care.
lowest quality people because they pay the least. So there you go. And it's a terrible situation. Anyways, this is 4.8% of physicians responsible for half of the malpractice claims filed in the U.S. Just 1.7% of physicians were responsible for 27.5%.
Yeah.
So nearly 30% of all malpractice cases were caused by 1%.
5%.
Probably that same
5%.
1% that YouTube allows to speak on here and everyone else gets yeeted, right?
That's a very good thing to point out, though. 5% of physicians are responsible for nearly 30% of malpractice. And if you don't think that actually...
No. 5% for half, but 30%.
For half.
30% is
Okay.
1.7%,
So
not
15%.
even 2%. Yes.
Still fucked, man. Absolutely screwed up. 5% accounts for 15%? Screwed up, dude.
Yeah. 5% of patients who are victims of malpractice who receive some payment through a negotiation to settlement claim, meaning almost no one gets retribution. And you're not going to get any retribution, guys, if you take the jab and something happens to you because there's no liability.
They have all been accused of liability for this. So if you develop cancer, or it doesn't matter what happens to you, if you have a severe reaction to a vaccine in the United States, all of this has been taken care of. So to the point where you cannot do anything, you have no medical or legal recourse.
This says 1/3 of 1%, that would be 0.33, the percentage of patients who are victims of malpractice whose cases go to trial.
Well, most of them will deal out of court. So, for example, my aunt, somebody tried to sue her one time. My aunt, who is a nurse, and it did not go well for this person. But yeah, it's a huge amount of money involved in this stuff.
Says 1 in 10 of 1%. The percentage of patients who are victims of malpractice who win a trial verdict in their favor, 70%, the percentage of malpractice awards reduced by court. So, like, again, nothing will happen. It's like, look, when my wife and I went to see the pediatrician a few weeks back, we started talking about vax stuff and blah, blah, blah. And I'm reading about these vaccines, and some of them that they give, especially the Hep B, have high loads of a neurotoxin called aluminum. Your body does not need aluminum in it. Why do they put that in there? They put it in there to elicit a response for your immune system. But a baby does not have a developed immune system, and we don't know necessarily if they can take that intravenous or intramuscular injection, that aluminum, straight into their system. We don't know if they can shed that well. Some kids can, some can't. And so I'm not going to poison my daughter at the beginning of her life.
Yeah, be very careful also about the MMR vaccine. You may have gotten it already. I think it's actually one of the most well-tested vaccines, but there's a lot of hesitancy within the medical community about the MMR vaccine. That's mumps, measles, and rubella. Even within the medical community, there's some hesitancy towards the MMR vaccine. I don't think that it's something you should avoid. I think, again, you should speak to your doctor and your child's doctor, but pay attention to the MMR vaccine.
Let's see. I just checked the entropy, guys. I got Alabastard adding to the diaper fund. Thank you very much. And Anti-Commie said, it's all about who gets paid, duders. Sensible law is bygone conclusion. It's a Mega Power Ranger game. We can just form Voltron and slay the dragon. Well, there you go, Auntie. Slay the dragon with Voltron.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would be I obviously don't have children. I'd like to, but it's got to be like a nightmare for you as a parent to have to figure out like what vaccines do you want your kids to get so they can go to school, and what vaccines you feel comfortable with. I can't imagine how difficult that must be.
Well, I'm stubborn enough and intelligent enough to do my own research, and there's some good doctors out there that have good books. They'll tell you about vaccines and vaccine schedules. And so it's not that we're not going to vax my daughter for certain things. It's that we're going to wait. We're going to not give it to her in her first few weeks of life. It's really funny because the doctors will say interesting things about their development and then not even consider that there is no developed immune system in a newborn child. It takes about a year for your immune system to develop. The
That's
majority,
actually not true.
no,
The child inherits the immune system from the mother.
they get immunity through breast milk. They get some
Yes,
immunity, but
yes.
their
Not
own
no,
ingrained
you're right. Not full immunity. They get some immunity. Yeah.
right. Their full immune system is not really developing. Their bacterial system isn't developed. So, for instance, well, she has my daughter Fiona has a little bit of a hernia from an umbilical hernia.
Oh
Well,
yeah, that can happen. Yeah.
right, it'll go away, but her abdominal wall isn't really well developed. So the doctor would say that, but then he willing to inject her with a Hep V vaccine where there's no risk to her with
Right.
getting Hep V. So
Well, again, though, that stuff's all changing. So, like, I got a hepatitis vaccine what was the Hep vaccine that got developed literally like 10 years ago for, what was it for? It was for like uterine cancer.
oh yeah. The HPV, human
HPV. I got that.
papilloma virus. Yes,
Yeah, I
I can
got
say it.
that. The second that vaccine became available, I got that vaccine because I was just afraid. Because I was afraid. I was 20 and I was afraid, even though I wasn't having safe sex or anything like that. But I was scared because I got scared because of the mainstream media, and I was 20. So I got that vaccine without asking a question. I got both doses and it didn't matter. However, like I have no idea what the long-term effects of that vaccine are because they weren't tested. They didn't test it long term. That being said, I don't know.
Well, the risk of that's still low. And I've been promiscuous in the past and not
Well, the
not
HPV
necessarily very
vaccine was
safe. I've never caught
they were
anything.
telling us back in like 2008, which is when I got it, which is that like if you have sex with anybody, it's like AIDS. You can get this and then you'll die. And I was like, oh well, geez, I guess I'll get this vaccine that's not been tested. So, and this is the exact same time as that swine flu thing was going on, by the way. Just
Right.
to point out that this has been happening for years and it's not changed really whatsoever. I don't know what the reality is there, but I certainly got it because the HPV vaccine was something I was told to get as a woman who was sexually active at the time because I was 19. So I did it. I don't know if it was a good thing or not.
I mean, I don't know. I know my sister's had arguments with her mother-in-law about this with her daughter because, she doesn't date anybody. She's a virgin. She's not promiscuous, and I know she's an adult now. She's 18, but my niece that is. But there was no risk for it, and she's not the kind of girl like I would expect my niece to literally.
Well, they told
have
everybody
one partner her
whether or
entire
not they
life,
were.
huh?
Yeah. They told everybody whether or not they were sexually active to
Right,
get it.
right.
But
Kids, so this is another interesting one. You talk about polio vaccine. Polio's been eradicated, so they don't necessarily make people get polio vaccines anymore.
well, I think that they do a
they do a what's it called, a as a child they give them like that big vaccine cocktail, and I think there might be polio, anti-polio vax in that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know anymore. I think when I was a kid, I maybe have got that. I remember like being scared because they put this giant vaccine in me that had like a which I think to children. Like, have you seen this, Bill, where it's like a big like cocktail that they put in kids?
Maybe I'd have to look. I'm too tired today to think.
No, don't worry about it. But I'm
Yeah,
wondering
yeah.
if like, because what I remember it as a kid, it, like, and they were like, oh, it'll look like a little happy face when they put the vax in. So like, it was a bunch of vaccines that they put in me all at once, and it made like a happy face. It literally made a happy face fucking imprint on me. That's kind of scary, isn't it? But I remember
Yeah.
that was back in the 90s. I would like 1995, right? So I don't know. For me to remember, it must have been 95.
Yeah, I don't know. Anything I got, any vaccine I want it. I shouldn't have gotten any vaxes in the 90s because well, maybe in the early 90s.
Well,
when I was younger.
I'm just a little bit younger than you, so just a tiny bit.
Just about 10 years, yeah.
Well, but I remember
um,
them giving me a vaccine where it made a smiley face on my arm.
I
And
know that
they
I
gave
got
me a
I got
yeah.
anthrax when I was in
What?
the Marine Corps. Not anthrax itself. I got the vaccine because
Oh, okay. I was just
I
like,
was in
whoa.
Iraq, and
Yeah.
I was first
Holy
wave
shit.
Iraq, like literally the very beginning of the war, and that was kind of still experimental, and that hurt like a mother sucker because my arm and almost everyone's was sore for like 3 or 4 days afterwards.
Well, that's kind
Yeah.
of typical of a lot of vaccines, but
But no
I don't
reactions
know.
that I knew, and as far as all that stuff, like when you're in the military and you go to foreign nations, you have to take like malaria pills and all this other stuff.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
with giant blue horse antibiotics,
oh, I can't do that. But when I had vitamin D deficiency, when I got diagnosed with endo, they used to like gigantic needle to put up my butt, like into your, not inside your butt, not inside your butthole, but like they have to, because it's like they have this huge needle. They want to shoot you up with like a vitamin B12 or whatever it was, and they're like, well, the best way we can do it is put it inside of your butt. It's the best way to get it in.
Anti
Really
mentioned
horrible.
Anti-Commie mentioned over on the entropy that the polio rollout was messed up. It was, and in fact, there were a lot of
Yeah.
there were a lot of adverse reactions to the polio vaccine initially. People were getting hurt by it.
Mhm.
And then Architect of Fate for a little donation said, in the information war, Bill and Aydin from Voltron's Blazing Sword. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe Aydin, if we do start a channel together, we need to have a Voltron theme channel.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, let me know, dude. Like, that's the whole thing. We
Well,
have to like figure out the way we theme it, I suppose.
Yeah, we need to sit down and have a think session together, talk it out. But
Hell yeah,
you know,
man.
do that off air.
But
So
yeah, they totally like put a fucking needle up my bum, not up on my bum hole, but like into your butt, like into the fleshy part, you know? They've never done that to you?
Yeah.
Thank God, I guess. Actually, I would say that when I got those butt shots, I didn't mind them so much because you can't feel it.
I've actually had
They'd pull like a 3-inch long needle, and I was like, and as long as you're not looking at it, you can't feel it. You're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Your
we
butt
were
doesn't
talking
have a lot
about
of feeling in it.
yeah, you were talking about STDs and stuff earlier. I actually had to get a shot in the butt because of that. Not because I had one, but because someone I had been with had one, and she got a hold of me. Yeah, so wasn't anything not treatable,
Well.
but still. But anyways,
I just had to get that for what was that for? I don't even remember. But whatever. I had to get a big butt shot. That sucked.
yeah. So, anyways, the last thing I have really for today, guys, and all this is what you already know, that this is old and obese people.
Yep.
Somehow, though, race and ethnicity is part of this because we're not looking at people as individuals who make
okay.
decisions.
Well, how about this? The fact of the matter is that Black people are more prone towards hypertension than white people. And the fact that we are not treating Black and white people as different within medical prescriptions is killing Black people. Stop killing fucking Black people, you fucking racists. I will not fucking tolerate this shit.
fuck yourselves. You want black people to die because you want to treat them the same way as whites? Get fucked, you fucking racists, and go fuck yourselves. Sorry, I'm really mad about that. Sorry, I'm super
You're a
mad.
little extra today, Aiden. That's okay though.
I am a little extra, and I'm a little mad about the fact that let's be real. The people who want to pretend like black people and white people are identical within medicine, why? Why would you want to do that besides the fact that you want to kill black people? Excuse me. I'm really wondering why you would want to do this outside of wanting to kill black people. And if you can't give me a fucking explanation why, I'm going to assume that's why you want to kill black people.
And there you have it. There you have it. Hey, Anti-Commie, send me another donation. Said, inform her all military men got penicillin in the ass and basic.
They
I
probably
didn't get
did.
shots in
Yeah.
basic that I remember, dude, but I pretty sure did all that through MEPS.
They didn't stick you up the butt with penicillin.
I don't remember. I do remember because I was really skinny. I was like 120 pounds when I went to boot camp. And I remember being at the MEPS station where they process you and all that stuff, and they had to draw my blood. And this guy's like, "Are you going to be all right?" And I'm like, "Dude, I'm fine." And he's like, "Wait, don't pass out on me." And as soon as he
I
said
always
that, he
pass
stuck
out
me.
every time.
Yeah, he stuck me. I was fine. And he didn't. It was weird the way he stuck me. It squirted a little bit, but he got it in right. And then the guy beside me just went straight down. Boom. And maybe that was that
I can't look
peritonic.
at it, man.
I don't
can't
even
do it.
remember. But
I absolutely like if I'm at a hospital or doctor's office and they're drawing blood, I'm fine. But if I've told so many nurses and I've been like, look, you do whatever you need to do. If I look at it, I will pass out. And that's just the way that I am. If I see the blood coming out of my body, I will pass out. That's just how I am. I can't deal with it whatsoever. Can't deal with it, man.
all right, old Kizza says, I'm back from a little northern meetup with other content creators, us honorable keks, talking about old times and how we should rule the West. And let's just say all of them were in favor of Kizzaism. Also, Bill, want to hook a man up. Kizza, I saw you said something like that on the YouTube chat. Hook a man up with what? What are you talking about? I don't know.
Let's
So,
look
clarify.
at obesity.
Yeah, let's go with obesity. This is in 2019, CDC adult obesity prevalence map shows that obesity remained high. 12 states now have an adult obesity prevalence at or above 35%. Okay. Obesity worsens outcomes from COOF. Nuh-uh. Are you really? This is news to me.
Oh, wow.
Seriously, though, why aren't we talking about it? Like, I know people are talking about it. I've seen people talk about it. But the mainstream media isn't talking about this.
You're severely obese. Like, that's kind of the problem. A whole bunch of America is severely obese. That makes them at increased risk. I'm not saying these people deserve to die in any way. That's how they'll construe me saying this. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, Jesus Christ, just please understand why you're at increased risk.
Because you're too old for my niece, for one. Two, she's a ballerina. She wouldn't put up with you because she's too elegant and whatever else. And three, you live in the UK, bud. So, you know. She is actually she.
Kiss, I'll try to set you up with someone. I know people here.
There you go.
I know
You're talking to
adults
Aiden.
here, so.
So here it says having obesity increases the risk of a severe illness. Nuh-uh. People who are overweight are also at increased risk. I think a lot of this, though, it's the fat shaming thing, right? You can't fat shame people today. That was Tim Pool's segment today.
Fat shaming is a good thing, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
I also should be fat shamed because look, when I was in the hospital last year, I weighed 80 pounds. It was a really bad move thing, and that was because I was sick. But now I got overweight, and I got to be like 130, and I was like, oh, that's like above the weight that I should be at 5'7". And so I need to move it down. People should fucking watch their goddamn weight. That's how you get sick. And it's not necessarily, I mean, if you weigh 500 pounds, homie, you gotta really watch your shit because you're super in danger of the stuff. Because it's not just COVID. Anything that touches you is gonna kill you if you weigh 500 pounds, okay? But just watch your fucking weight, stay within your weight I don't weigh 130 anymore. I lost a bunch of weight last month, but be careful about that shit, man. That's all. Just be careful about it.
Right, right. Well, where are the guidelines where people coming out with this stuff? It says obesity may triple the risk of hospitalization due to the coof. Obesity is linked to impaired immune function. And again, guys, like
Exactly.
if some of you guys are
Exactly.
overweight, I'm not trying to shame any of you per se, but get your crap together. I remember some years ago, I had my daughter who will be 17 this weekend. Will turn 17. But when she was little, I used to take her to the park every day. And I was sitting like nowhere near anyone really over by a bench while she was running around on the playground. And I smoked a cigarette. And some lady kind of like got an attitude about it with me. And I'm like, we're outside. I said, that's fine. I'll go over here. But I'm like, we're outside. And I looked at her and she weighed like 400 pounds. And I'm thinking, I know this ain't healthy, but
She didn't give a fuck about healthiness. If
yeah,
she weighs 400
like
pounds.
what are you doing?
Holy fuck. She doesn't give a fuck. Like, that's
Right.
ridiculous. She doesn't care about health. She's just trying to, like, it's enjoyable for her to try and have control over your life. That's how those people operate.
Right.
She
Well, understood.
enjoys
She
having
didn't want
control
to
over
smoke
you.
around her kid, and all I could think
I'm gonna
was,
smoke a
your,
cigarette
your
just out
kid's
of
going to
just
be obese because you are, and that's what happens. You're going to teach her this behavior, or
Oh
him,
yeah.
whoever it
Poor
was.
kid.
Yeah.
Poor kid.
So, anyways, let's read this. Obesity is linked to impaired immune function. Duh. Obesity decreases lung capacity and reserve, and can make ventilation more difficult. Of course, CDC cases suggest that the risk of hospitalization, intensive care unit administration, invasive mechanical ventilation, and death are higher with increased BMI. Nuh-uh, you don't say. Increased risk for
Oh
hospitalization
wow,
or death.
what a surprise.
Right. Particularly pronounced in those under the age of 65. What? Huh. You mean being fat is the risk factor? Is the big risk factor?
Unbelievable. Are you
Right.
serious?
More than
Unbelievable.
90,000 adult COVID hospitalizations occurred in the United States between the beginning of the pandemic. The models estimate 271,800.
30%.
30% of hospitalizations were attributed to obesity.
So let's be real. 1/3. And that's being fair because it probably is more than that. But 1/3, because 33% would be 1/3. 33% were due to obesity.
Right.
And in the US, there's a severe obesity epidemic. So these people, let's just be real, are fat. Lose some fucking weight and this disease will not affect you. Stop being fat. The end. Get on like a keto diet or something. It's not that fucking hard. Eat meat and don't eat fucking bread. The end.
Yeah. Yeah. Alabastard says fat activism is literally killing people. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes,
It's ridiculous.
Alabastard. Thank you. You're completely
Yes.
correct. It is killing people, by the way.
And I
It
don't
is
like
killing people.
Right. Absolutely. Look, I live in one of the according to what was it? Oh crap. USA Today, I think, and a few others. Like I live in an area. It's like one of the most obese areas in the United States. It's like in the top 10. So I
Yeah,
get it.
in WV, yeah.
Yeah. Well, not just WV, the Hagerstown, Martinsburg kind of metropolitan
Oh,
area, they
yeah.
call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I live in neither city, but I'm out.
But
in
I
the,
know the region that you kind of live in, and
Yeah.
like, yeah, there's a lot of really, really fat people there. Grew up around that shit, man. Grew up
Yep.
around that shit.
It says obesity disproportionately impacts some racial and ethnic minority groups. I don't
Oh,
like
white
this
people?
language.
Poor white people? Oh, it doesn't affect poor white people. Isn't that interesting?
How does obesity impact anybody? Obesity is something you do to yourself.
Well, they would say that
It didn't
okay,
happen
so
to you. You made it
th-
happen.
their argument is that people who don't have access to greater wealth are forced to buy like shitty Walmart food. But I know for a fact that like a shitty Walmart pizza costs way more than buying chicken breasts and vegetables.
I literally live
It does.
practically off steak and eggs. So
Yeah. Just
You know,
buy vegetables and chicken breast, and you will not be that fat. I'm just saying. Like,
right.
again, I gained weight because, okay, when I was 80 pounds, I literally had to drink these weight gain shakes. And then at some point it's like, be like, okay, it's time to stop. I had to because when I left the hospital, I weighed 80 pounds. So I don't know how much I weighed when I was in the hospital, but it's probably more like 60. I was literally dying. Whatever. The point is, like, you gotta like fucking deal with this shit for a little bit and understand how to like stop. Um, you have to figure this stuff out, man. Anybody does.
Light and NC.
Don't be anorexic, and also don't be a big fat shit.
Right, right. Lighting, or lightning, sorry. I agree with you, but there's a point when you have agency over yourself. And I'm kind of old school. So I think once you're a young teen, then you have agency over yourself. You know, that the age of
Yeah,
accountability around 13 or
I
so.
agree.
But especially once you're an adult, it's all on you. And don't get me wrong, like I've had times where I've been slightly overweight. I'm, you know, trying to get the last few pounds of beer weight I put on last year off me right now. But I'm still lean. I mean, I'm not tall, but you know, I'm 150 pounds at like 5'6". So I'm definitely not hawking around a big fat mass, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that it's a different thing for everybody, but like, you know, I had a real issue with it. Again, I was in a really serious health position, and that was because I got really sick. Where any kind of food, like just smelling food, made me want to vomit. So for a while, I had to be hooked up to a machine where they'd have like put calories into my body. But that was because I had COVID, by the way, where I couldn't eat for like 3 months. I'm okay now, but that's not a normal reaction to COVID. That was because of my personal shit. Like, so I don't think people should think that that's how COVID affects most people, by the way.
Again, fair point. It, you know, it's their responsibility to fix it, but it's not their fault. I mean, yeah, fair point. But again, I'm not necessarily talking about children. I'm talking about adults, addressing adults here. Obviously, we have a lot.
Right. Exactly.
We have a lot of irresponsible adults that are irresponsible with their children as well. So, in
Well,
fact,
yeah.
the majority of folks are irresponsible. That's why they love the government to wipe their butt
Well,
and put the spoon in their
precisely.
mouth, right?
I can't talk too much shit because I just made the most high calorie cake that could ever have existed for a child. And like, did you see it, Bill?
Did I see your cake? Did you put it on Twitter or something?
I did put it on Twitter, but also
Oh, no. I don't really look at Twitter.
no, don't worry about it. But I made like a child this cake that is so incredibly high calorie because it's nothing but sugar. But they're 9, and it was for their entire big party of like, you know, 10 or 12 other 9-year-olds. So that's fine. They'll go get in the pool and swim that shit off, right? Doesn't matter. But adults probably shouldn't eat that shit.
I just checked the entropy, and apparently Kizza wasn't asking for my knees. According to Anti-Commie, he wants my butt. So that's good to know. Good to know. I'm keeping an eye on you, Kizza. All right, so let's read the last little bit of this. This is only 3 pages. Most of it's citations. Because I want to get out of here.
Yeah.
It says non-Hispanic Black adults had the highest prevalence of self-reported obesity, almost 40%, followed by Hispanics, and then followed by whites.
Isn't that interesting? You're not interested into why that might be the case?
Yeah, couldn't be cultural or anything.
No, it couldn't be cultural in any way. It has to be some kind of like
fatness is racist. Racist fat.
Shit. Absolutely absurdist. God damn it.
6 states had an obesity prevalence of 35% or higher among non-Hispanic white adults. 15 states had an obesity prevalence of 35% or higher. Can we just make Hispanics a race instead of talk this like
Well,
ethnicity
Hispanics
thing?
are kind of white though.
I know. I'm just saying. Why do we label it this way? Hispanics are white. They're European heritage, but they have Native American
Mixed, yeah.
with not all of
Mestizo.
them.
You
Not
want
all
to
of
say
them. You
that?
know,
Mestizo, is that the best way to say
some.
it? Like they have
Yeah.
some, but most white people are also mixed in the US, so whatever.
Right. Exactly.
Who cares?
15 states had an obesity prevalence of 35% or higher among Hispanic adults. It probably had a high Hispanic population, I would assume. 34
Probably in
states.
Florida and other places, yeah, Texas.
Yeah, Texas, New Mexico.
Yep.
Yeah, California. California.
Yep.
Sorry. Didn't mean to mispronounce that.
Oh,
34
sorry.
states in the District of Columbia had an obesity prevalence of 35% or higher. Now, this I don't understand because people, when I go down to DC, are lean.
Colombia.
They're skinny. So
Oh, in DC. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's because I actually don't know. Well, actually, do you know about like how bad DC is outside of the district itself? Like DC is a nightmare. It's full of ghettos. The district itself, but outside of the sort of
Well, most of the
there are
most of
ghettos
DC is
all
nice.
around DC that are in the district, but are not a part of any other state.
Well, Anacostia
DC
is
is
a
very
ghetto.
bad.
You go over to Anacostia, yeah, for sure. But
Yeah, well, you're from Maryland, so you know this, man.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have to know that like DC is surrounded by some of the worst ghettos in the US.
Well, it's weird because you have like Chevy Chase and Silver Springs, all those places around there that are right outside of
Yeah,
DC.
Silver Spring is all rich white people who work in DC.
Right, but they have their own little ghettos there too, within
True,
that.
but
So yeah,
within DC proper, it's a lot of ghettos, to be honest. Like that's just take the train into DC sometime, my dude, from Baltimore, and look at that shit.
well, that's what you're seeing. You're seeing the train from Baltimore to DC. That's what you're seeing.
Right. But it's not just me seeing it. It's that.
But
That's how it
again,
is.
there's a lot of money there. There's a lot of money between those two cities, and a lot of rich people around, and Columbia, Potomac, Maryland, that kind of stuff. But at the same time, lots of, like you were saying, little ghettos around. So what can be done about obesity? It's a complex disease, really, with many factors. No, it's really
pretty
not.
simple.
It's really
Eat
not.
less.
Like, eat less sugar, eat less
sugar.
calories.
The sugar thing is the biggest. The sugar fucking industry is the biggest problem with all of this. Is the sugar industry, because they put sugar in everything.
Well,
And
guys,
that's
if
why,
you
like, I'm not telling
Right.
people to go full keto, but just try to eat less sugar. That's all it is. Just try to eat less sugar.
Well,
You will lose
obviously
weight.
there's three things to do, right? Try to reduce your calories some, although I'm not a big calories in, calories out guy, because there's
Well,
a whole
that's
entire
what
thing in your
the-
body called hormones that direct those calories to certain areas that
But
we
thermodynamics exist no matter what. So calories in, calories out will always exist, and that's the basic thermodynamics. So follow thermodynamics and also try to reduce sugars, because sugars make you hungrier.
It's not
So
just
if you-
sugar though. You got to get rid of polyunsaturated fats that
Yeah,
causes
well,
great amount of inflammation.
sugar is the big thing, though. Sugar and
Yeah, I don't eat
carbohydrates.
it. I don't really eat sugar and
Well,
except
cut
for a rare
carbs.
occasion. But
Cut
I'm just saying,
carbs out of your life. Carbs are worthless calories. Do you agree with me, Bill? If you cut
Depends.
carbs out of your life, I think you will get much healthier.
Depends on the individual, and
Yeah, true.
because there are certain gene polymorphisms that some people can't do low carb diets.
True. Yeah.
Though I do believe in long sustained low carb diets. But if you don't do that, if you can't do that,
I got super sick recently from doing a low carb diet, so I'm not like saying it's for
but most
everybody.
people don't do it right. Like you have to. I was telling you before. Like most people are going to have less mineral and salt intake, which is very important.
Yeah.
Electrolyte intake, because you're getting all that through your carbohydrates. And carbohydrates, every molecule of carbohydrate, I believe, clings on to 3 molecules of water, which is why when people
Yes.
go on low carb diets, they lose about 10 pounds of water weight within a week or two.
Pretty much within a week, you'll
Yeah.
lose about that. That is, I see people being kind of weird about low carb diets, and they see that they're a meme. And it's like, yeah, because you will lose 10 pounds. You will gain it back immediately if you go off it. But that's because of exactly what you said. It's because of water weight. If you stay off carbs for long enough, it it really will help. You'll go into ketosis, and it is a very helpful way of losing. Like, okay, I explained to you, like, I had to gain weight because I was literally dying. So I was literally given like weight gain shakes and stuff like that, because I was so low weight that it was very, very dangerous. But then, like, after a while, you have to be like, oh wait, where does this stop? You know what I mean? And so then afterwards, I was like, oh well, I'll go back on keto to try and maintain my weight. And I like to, for me personally, and this is not for anybody else, and no one else has to feel this way. Around 120 pounds at 5'7" is where I feel at 5'7", 5'7", 120 is where I feel comfortable weight wise. Not everyone has to agree with me because not everyone is the same. Not everyone has the same body makeup. So that is not a prescriptive for anybody. But when I got to like 130, I got really upset. I was like, oh shoot, I got to get back to like 120. And I'm at that now, and I'm fine with where I'm at. But I understand why people don't want to do that kind of stuff, and I understand why people don't like keto, because keto it doesn't work for everybody. But just you do what works for you. Keto works for me and doesn't necessarily work for you.
Good Tom King, I agree with you, man. We were evolved to fast. I intermittent fast
I think so too.
all the time. That was another thing I was going to say. Alabastard, I don't know where you're getting this from, but I've never read anything in any literature anywhere that
not the carbs, but the quality of them. You need carbs.
Well,
to
not the
maintain
quality,
cell
but you need
structure.
carbs to maintain cell structure. That is absolutely untrue.
I've never heard that.
That is not in any scientific literature. You need nutrients like your macros and your micros. You need fat, you need protein. Your body will have
Mostly eat proteins.
Your body has
you need your proteins and your
neoproteogenesis.
vitamin C and vitamin D more than anything. Eat vitamin D. You need vitamin D. I absolutely believe you need vitamin D. You get that from sun. You naturally get it from sun, but eat fruit, which is not fruits are not allowed basically under keto, but fruits are good.
Yeah,
Eat
because
fruits.
of fructose, and fructose goes straight to the liver generally and stores there. So
Yes.
you're more likely to get fatty liver that way. There's all kinds of stuff,
eat
guys.
fruits.
I'm
fruits.
not prepared today for this, but I would get into it.
No. Just saying. Eat a decent amount of fruit. Don't be weird about fruit.
All I'm saying is you would do really good just if you stayed away from starchy foods. Doesn't mean you can't have them. Just stay away from them for the most part. Sugar, polyunsaturated fats.
Yep.
Polyunsaturated fats are a huge one, guys, because that's what the government tells you to eat.
Yeah.
That's what canola oil is and soybean
Isn't that
oil.
fascinating how they
All
tell
that
you
stuff,
to eat the shit that's terrible for you?
Yeah, all that stuff that's in your food that you don't even know. You look back on your food labels, you're eating polyunsaturated fats. It's wrecking your body. We only need a very small percentage of that.
Cook everything yourself. It actually doesn't take up much more time than it would take to order something. Cook that stuff yourself, so you know at least what's in it a little bit more than you would otherwise just buying it from from McDonald's or whatever. Just try to make the food yourself.
So right here we have neighborhood design, access to health, affordable foods. All this stuff is the problem, apparently, according to the
I don't
CDC.
think so.
This isn't
Yeah.
true.
They'll say it's food deserts. But
Right. I watched a thing on NTD the other day about Albany. Now, my wife is from Albany. I've been to the Capitol at Albany. I know my mother-in-law lives in Albany.
Mhm.
They were talking about food deserts in downtown Albany around the Capitol, and like these people can't get a taxi or an Uber or drive a car. Like Albany's not that big. It's not that hard to get around.
Well, apparently they can't go to a grocery store.
No, the food desert thing's a complete lie. You guys
It
need to
is.
quit listening to this stupid stuff. Don't listen to anything the government tells you.
Nope. Government lies all the time.
Become ungovernable.
Yeah. They're lying to you. And honestly, I think that this is control of Black people, and I think it's racist. I truly do. I think that this kind of narrative is racist, that says that Black people apparently are incapable of controlling their own lives. I find that to be extremely racist and fucked up.
Well, that's why I brought up this. Not that we're going to get into it, but I was looking that up to get that up for the show. I found this COVID-19
I've read this study. Yeah.
and structural racism, understanding the past and identifying solutions for the
I
future.
read this study. Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
How full of crap is it?
Pretty full of crap. To be honest, We don't have to go into it too much, but we could if you'd like to. I have read the study. I don't have notes on it, but I have read it. It's basically what we were talking about, which is that they're basically saying, like, if you don't have access to the Whole Foods all the time, then you're going to be more susceptible to COVID-19. But that's not true whatsoever, and there's no data to indicate that that would be the case. Moreover, if you have access to a Whole Foods, wouldn't you also be, I don't know if you've ever been to a Whole Foods, Bill, but holy shit, it's like cakes and fresh baked goods that are full of carbs. So I don't think access to a Whole Foods is really going to help you, because it's basically what that article is about. It's like, oh, we need more Black people to have access to the Whole Foods. You fucking kidding me?
No, it's about choice. We've looked at this. I think one of the best
in that
one of the best
article, it's about, like, it is about choice. They're saying that the Black people don't have enough access to fucking Whole Foods.
If you guys want to watch, well, yeah, but they're okay. They're saying Black people don't have access to that, but they still, even if they went to Whole Foods, would get the cakes and whatever else and drink the sodas.
That's bullshit.
Right? Here's the other thing.
Individual choice is what it is, man.
Right. Here's the other thing is the damn it, I lost my train of thought on that now.
Sorry. Okay. So Black people have access.
Oh, gentrification is what I was going to talk about.
Okay.
They don't want gentrification, and there's no evidence at all that gentrification displaces people, except for people who were bad for the neighborhood in the first place. So they don't like gentrification, yet they complain about these food neighborhoods. These are the same people that gave us a food pyramid that basically ever since we've been on it, or whatever, back when I was a kid, it was 4-4-3-2. So I don't know. It wasn't a food pyramid yet.
When we were kids,
but,
it was eat nothing but bread all day.
Right. So, and then all of a sudden we have heart disease and diabetes skyrocketing. Then in the 90s and early 2000s, a lot of research, a lot of stuff's coming out about low carb diets, which, by the way, guys, are very old. People knew this for thousands of years.
Yeah, and now they're saying it's bullshit, which is very interesting that I'm seeing, like, keto is bullshit. It doesn't work. It's not real. It's like, well, hang on. Atkins is bullshit because, oh my God. Have you looked at, like, an Atkins bar?
No, they don't, Alabastard. You're going to have to show me a medical paper on that. That is not true.
Glycogenic and
ACP pathways are both required. No, they don't. Your body makes carbohydrates. I will die on this hill. You're wrong. You're going to have to show me a paper that breaks down the metabolic mechanism that does this.
I'd have to see it as well.
Yeah.
But if you've ever looked at so actually the other day we were at the store and we saw this. They had this whole, like, setup that was for Atkins stuff. It was like Atkins drinks and Atkins bars. And I went and looked at the Atkins bar and it had 20 carbs in it, like one little bar. I'm like, well, this is stupid. What the fuck is this? How is this Atkins? Is this, if I ate this little bar, it would be the only thing I could eat in the whole day. So what the hell is this? The Atkins stuff absolutely is a fucking grift. So I will not ascribe to the Atkins diet, but that doesn't mean that keto doesn't work and doesn't exist. It works based on basic metabolic function. So whatever, like, get mad at it. I'm sorry that it works, but it does. I mean, you're not going to, I think that's the issue, is that, like, people who go on diets expect to lose 20 pounds in a day, right? Which is an absurdity. That's not how life works. A lot of these very overweight people are like, I didn't eat carbs for 2 days and I didn't lose 500 pounds. It's like, well, no, you didn't, because that's not, you're trying to violate thermodynamics. You can't violate thermodynamics. This is all thermodynamics. Just understand how it works, and you'll, it's not going to work overnight, my dude. It's not that simple.
So this is from Science Direct. Gluconeogenesis occurs in the liver and kidneys. Gluconeogenesis supplies the need for plasma glucose between meals. Gluconeogenesis is stimulated by the diabetogenetic hormones, glucagon, growth hormone, epinephrine, and cortisol, all of which will go down the minute you ingest carbohydrates.
Yes, because, and by the way, cortisol is something you want to feel nice. If you want to feel happy, cortisol is something that actually makes you feel happier. And the more carbohydrates you eat, the lower your body's capacity to produce cortisol in a way that would affect your body positively. So if you want more positive hormones that make you feel better, stop eating carbohydrates to the same degree. I'm not saying like cut them out. I ate like a low carb pizza today, but I ate a low carb pizza. The dough didn't have any carbs in it, but you know what I mean? Like still.
Also, if this were if you had to have carbohydrates for glucose, if your body could not produce it, then no one could fast. There would not be the Maasai in Africa who live off of milk and blood. Now I know there's a little bit of carbohydrates in that, a very small amount, or
About 1 gram,
right,
probably.
or the Inuits who basically live off of 80% whale blubber. They used to,
And
this
seal
is
meat, yeah.
the Pima Indians, once they were given flour as rations from America, from the American government,
Until I got really overweight.
they blew up to like 300, 400 pounds, and their children were starving.
Look at the people in Hawaii.
Yeah,
Like
because
people
their
in
ancestry.
Pacific Islands previously had no ability to have this kind of access to this kind of level of carbohydrates.
Right.
In the Pacific Islands.
And
And that's why they're
also,
all
guys,
really heavy now.
There is an argument out there that carbohydrates are the preferred can I speak? Preferred fuel is what I'm trying to say for the body, because it's the first thing the
It
body
is.
burns.
Yes.
It's not true. That would be like saying that alcohol is the preferred fuel for the body to burn because it's the first thing that burns. You will not
Actually-
metabolize anything else other than alcohol initially when you drink alcohol.
Just
That's
drink
why when you
alcohol.
drink, right, when
Just
you
saying.
drink alcohol and you eat food with it, and then you have the beer, shits the next day. The reason why that exists is because that food fermented in your gut for a very long amount of time while your body was processing the alcohol. This is part of that.
Yes. Alcohol takes a ton of time for your body to process
So-
because your body is not meant to process alcohol.
I'm sorry.
So
Like I
I'm
said, I
saying
would
that-
die, I
I'm
would die
saying
on
that
this hill.
as- I'm
This is
saying that as
20
someone who-
years. This is 20 years of me being a fit nut, even though I haven't been so much in my last few years of life.
I
But
know, and I'm
yeah.
saying it as someone who became 60 pounds while being an alcoholic. So trust me, you can drink let me be really clear. You can drink half a bottle of rum every single day and lose weight. Don't do it. You will lose feeling in every single part of your extremities. It has taken me over a year to be able to feel things in my hands again. And I'm very lucky. It's only because I'm relatively young, which is, relatively, I'm 30. But if I was any older, I wouldn't be able to ever have feeling back in my hands again. It's only because I was relatively young that, because I got down to the 60 pounds or whatever I was, that I was able to gain feeling. But I still have no feeling in my feet, by the way. I'd like to point that out. Like, I still have no feeling in my feet, and I probably never will have that back. It's very frustrating, but you absolutely can be a total alcoholic and lose weight. Just don't do it, because I'm telling you, don't do it. Don't
Oh yeah,
fucking
I've
do
seen
it.
plenty of
Don't
people.
fucking do it, dude.
Plenty of people do it.
It's real fucked up, man.
Lastly, but not least, and I'm going to get off here. I have to. I'm not trying to tear you apart either, Alabaster. I just don't agree. The story of Angus Barbary, who went 382 days without eating, literally, and became a regular sized person. He was a gigantic man, and he just didn't eat for
That's
a year.
fucked. He's gonna. Yeah, you can live off that, but you're gonna get really sick, man.
No, no. I mean, this guy just lost a bunch of weight. Let me find some pictures of him. But this is a study that I've looked at numerous
he got
times.
really
Because
sick.
people will tell you, like I've done dry
guarantee
fast and
it.
stuff where we don't even drink water, and people, you can't do that. Look, you guys are just way freaking out
Please
about.
drink water, though.
No,
drink water.
no.
What?
You can dry fast for 3 or 4 days. It's fine.
Oh,
I know people that dry
Not for a
fast for
year. I thought you
7
meant for a
days.
year. I'm like, don't try
Oh,
to not
no,
drink
for a
water
year,
for a
yeah,
year.
yeah. I'm not telling you guys to go do these things. I'm just saying you can. People have done these things, and let me find images of this guy because you'll see the difference. And well, here's an image of his pants.
Real quick, someone asked me about like Labyrinth Rebel. The really bad thing about when you lose feeling in your extremities from losing weight or whatever, when I became like 60 pounds, is that like when you gain feeling back or whatever, it's actually really terrible because for me at least, what I have experienced is that, and I think anyone, it wouldn't just be me, lots of people will tell you about this, is that you will both have numbness and hyper extreme sensitivity in the extremities. So like if I have to wear shoes all the time. I have to wear shoes 24 hours a day because besides when I'm sleeping, but anytime that I'm up, I have to wear shoes. I have to wear shoes right now because if I'm not wearing like shoes that have a proper kind of a softness on the bottom, it hurts extremely when I try to put my feet on a hard surface. So don't do what the fuck I did. Don't become super anorexic. It's really terrible and it will not help you. And let me tell you for a fact that the numbness that you feel when you get really, really low in weight is not worth it. It's not worth it in any way. It's terrible. And please don't do it because it's really, really, really bad. Don't do it, my dudes. Please don't do it. It's terrible. I weighed less than that guy, by the way. 82 kg. I weighed 42 at my lowest. So I think that it was something like that. Do not do that shit. It will. Again, I can't walk around without shoes on. I can't, like I used to walk around without shoes on all the time. I can't do it now because the pain is so bad. Even though at the same time it's numb. It's something you can't really describe unless you felt it, where it's both numb and very painful. So don't do that shit, homies. Please don't do it. It's really awful. Lose weight healthily if you're overweight, which most people have, I think, over the course of the pandemic. People have gained weight. Just be very healthy about it. I think keto is an excellent way to lose weight.
Just do it right. Like get
Do it right. Exactly. Do it right.
Dr. Volker is probably one of the best like basic kind of experts you can go. He has the art and science of low carb dieting or low carb. Yeah. It's real simple information. Peter Tia online. I know Holly said I don't get my advice from YouTubers, and I would agree. Dominic Diascio, he's another one. He does a lot of research. Found my fitness lady who's on what's her name? Rhonda Patrick. Yeah, Dr. Rhonda Patrick, who's on Rogan often or used to be.
Just be very
Dr. Paul D.
hyper-aware of stuff.
Saladino. Go look at him. Go look at Rob Wolf. There's all kinds of people that live like this that either eat carnivore or low carb diets for a long period of time, and they don't. And just
they don't end up in the hospital. Like my experience is very different from other people, and that's why I'm saying don't follow what happened to me because that was a bad thing. But I still support a low carb diet because I think it's very healthy. It's what I'm doing now. I had to eat carbs for a little bit, but yeah.
And here, she's Alabaster saying she trains NHL players. It's fine. I don't care. I don't care about your pedigree. I'm saying I know what the literature says, and I know what these people espouse, and I've looked into their stuff. So and I know what they teach in school too, because I've taken the classes and they teach nonsense. When I sit in an anatomy class and my teacher starts going on about how saturated fat is bad for you, and this is just 2 years ago, I wanted to go up and slap her. I made a stink about it in class.
Well, that's dumb shit. They don't know any better.
So these are just hills I die on, guys. There's certain ones.
Okay. Here's the thing.
Triggered Bill. Hey, I got to get out of here, Aydin. But
but get out of here. I'll put my end statement. Calories in, calories out. That's the end statement on losing weight. That's all you need to know.
I don't believe in that. I think that it's
really
more complicated, but yeah, the reason why is because certain calories affect different people hormonally differently. This is the example of the Pima.
That is the basic part of it.
Yes, this is the example of the Pima Indian, though, whose children were starving. They weren't starving their children out, but they were morbidly obese because they were getting basic government rations of flour, and their bodies hormonally couldn't handle it. Much like Indians couldn't handle, Native Americans, whatever you want to call them, could not handle alcohol either. It practically wrecked their entire society. In any case, last two things. Anti-Commie said thermodynamics states eating ice should melt your weight off. And then Architect of Fate says obesity has two factors: caloric intake and caloric expenditure.
There we go.
Your body's not that simple, guys. That's
it is not. No, you're correct.
It is not that simple. That is the most basic thing. But if it's not
Yeah.
working for you, calorie in, calorie is not working, calorie in, calorie out is not working for you, please go see a dietitian, because it's probably something else that's going on within your thermodynamic response within your body.
Right, right. But generally, just, eat better, eat clean, eat less sugar, eat less
Yep.
polyunsaturated fats, fast. Some guys don't eat in a
Fasting is
12-hour
great.
window. That'll be huge.
I
Dr.
truly believe a 48-hour fast is going to help you a lot. With water, drink water, take vitamins, do a 48-hour fast. I think you will feel better, because I felt better every single time I've done a fast. Just me personally, but talk to your doctor first. Please don't take my advice. But for me, a 48-hour fast is pretty nice.
It's not that I'm contentious. I don't know that there's any literature on this at all. There's so much junk science. This is what Aydin does, is destroy junk science.
I was going to
There's
say,
so much
what
junk
Aydin
science
does is
out
junk
there.
science.
So again, you could get great results. I mean, you can get lean guys eating carbohydrates. I'm not saying
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
but that's
you
not the
can.
case. But I was about to say, the last thing I want to say is time restricted feeding is very important, intermittent fasting, all that kind of stuff. But Dr. Sanchin Panda has found generally that your biomarkers will improve if you just restrict your eating to a 12-hour window. And most of us
Yep.
eat 14, 15, 16 hours a day. So
Yep. And
just
I
eat
I
less.
actually do think, like, when you start a diet, taking like a 48-hour fast where you're just doing like lemon water and stuff like that, that's a good way to start it. It's going to suck. It will fucking blow, but it will help you deprocess some of the things you're used to eating. And truly, once you get into eating a low carb diet, you won't want those carbs anymore. You won't. It will take a little bit, but eventually you won't want those carbs. You won't want the bread. You won't want the pizza. Eventually you won't want it. And in fact, you'll be totally fine not eating potatoes and pizza or whatever the fuck are high carb things. You will get used to not wanting them, because that's everyone I've ever spoken to has had that similar kind of thing where it's kind of an addiction. And once you get out of the addiction, then you don't feel it anymore. That might not be the case for everybody, but I would say, try just a 12-hour water fast. That would be what I would start with. And then try to just eat low carb, maybe not no carb, but low carb. And I think you'll actually feel a lot better, because that's how I felt every time I've done this. And I've done it multiple times. Just try to eat no pasta, no bread, and see how it feels. And if it doesn't feel good for you, then don't do it.
Okay, zero fat, zero carb, zero fat intake isn't smart in my layman opinion. Yeah, exactly.
No, but there's fat there.
Okay.
There's a high fat intake in keto.
Right. Right. So here's the thing. Your body is more efficient. It burns cleaner fuel generally, unless you have a particular gene polymorphism, when you eat only on fat. Your A1C levels and what is the I can't think of it off the top of my head, because like I said, I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. But
yeah, but you want to eat fats.
Right. You actually have a cleaner
meat.
burning fuel with less oxidative stress, that is free radicals, when you do not eat carbohydrates. That is just a fact. So again, I don't care what you guys do. It's a thing you can do, but gluconeogenesis does not require.
Also,
you don't require carbohydrates to create glucose.
No, and also just to be really clear, like the keto diets that are like, hey, I ate bacon wrapped in bacon wrapped in bacon wrapped in bacon, I lost weight. No, those people are being stupid. Like, ignore that stupid shit where it's like, I ate bacon wrapped in cheese wrapped in bacon wrapped in cheese. That stuff's stupid. That's not what a keto diet is.
Well, there's your calories in, calories out, because you're going to be eating 4,000 calories when you
That's
might.
4,000 exactly.
Right.
You can't defeat thermodynamics. Thermodynamics exist. So the people who are eating nothing but bacon and cheese, they're not losing weight either. So please just don't think that you can eat bacon wrapped in cheese, wrapped in bacon, wrapped in cheese, and think that you're going to lose weight, because that's not how it works. You have to still follow the basic rules of thermodynamics. Keto is it's a different way of allowing your body to process food in a different way. It's not a magic. It's not magic. Come on now. People who think that shit's magic, it's not magic. It's just allowing your body to process food in a different way. It is not a miracle cure. It's just different. And it works well. I had to go off it for a bit because my fiance has had a serious freaking issue with his balls. He's been so sick that he's been just eating like regular food. And really, if you have a partner, I have to be very clear, you need to both be doing it together. There's no way you can do it by yourself. it's very you can, but it's very hard to do keto by yourself. You got to basically both of you be doing it, or the whole family be doing it. It's very hard otherwise.
I don't know. I do everything myself, but whatever.
Well, all right. So you're different from me. I think I have to have, because I can't cook just for myself personally.
My wife would not eat the level of protein that I eat daily because I'm eating
Oh.
between 130 to 160 grams of protein a
Oh,
day.
wow.
So, yeah, but that's just because I primarily eat meat. I
Yeah, me
primarily am
too.
on a carnivore diet. I fluctuate because I eat junk here and there and whatever. But and the main thing I try and do though is intermittent fasting. Stay away from the polyunsaturated fats. I'm very particular about what I put in my body most of the time, not
I
always.
think most people should just stay away from carbs. Stay
Yeah.
away from
Lots-
bread and rice and those kinds of things. And if you can learn to stay away from them, which takes time, and I've learned to stay away from them. And so now I used to crave bread, not anymore. And if you can learn to not crave bread and rice, then you'll be okay. I think just eat meat, and you'll be. No, I'm not saying like do full carnivore, but just learn to like eat meat and veg rather than breads.
No Leaf says, but does it help alleviate diabetes like some claim? Type 2 can be
Potentially, yeah.
You can't technically, once you're giving the
Well,
diagnosis, cure it. That's medical nonsense, whatever. My father is an example of this actually, where his doctor was smart enough to say, I'm not going to diagnose you with type 2, but you're basically on that level.
On the verge.
And my dad went on a low carb diet and went
got
away.
better.
Went away.
Yeah, it's also happened to people in my family where they were like on the verge, and a doctor said, "Do it." My dad, in particular, my dad was told he was on the verge of type 2 diabetes. He went on a keto diet and has been on a keto diet for about, like 6-7 years now, where all he eats is meat, and he's lost a ton of weight. Actually, like it's weird. Like my dad's so thin now, but he's okay. Like he doesn't have to worry about that stuff. So, again, it's the same thing with COVID, where you ask your doctor and see what they tell you, because it's different for every person, and it's not universal for everybody. So just be careful about what you do, and don't do what I did and just not eat for like, oh my goodness, oh there she is, oh my gosh.
What I would suggest is, if you guys are worried about it, or you're worried about maybe having a particular gene polymorphism, go spend the money on 23andMe, and they will give you all the data you need. And go, there's plenty of research. You guys can email me if you want. I will give you 1,001 resources. I mean, like I said, my life's been different over the last couple of years, especially after I got injured. But I'm kind of a fit nut, so I mean, other than drinking alcohol and smoking, which I'm quitting because of this one.
I have a hard time with it.
Yeah.
With both.
In any case, guys, I'm gonna have to wrap up though, because I did not
let's
plan to
go.
do a 2.5 hour long stream today.
I know we went a little bit too
Damn
long.
you,
Then.
alabastard. And you and I can argue about that some other time. I don't know. I just want to see the paper, because I've never seen that in any sort of scientific evidence. And I've gone through year after year after year through the studies and the papers. And just like Aydin does, is probably why I loved your channel when I first saw it years ago.
Oh, thank you. I guess
Because I
know
look
it's
at the
stupid as
studies, I'm
fuck.
like, well, this study doesn't prove anything. This is a bunk study. The conclusion's nothing like what happened here. So, I mean, look, guys, for
That's the
30
big
years,
thing.
for
Just
30
read
years,
these studies
scientists said
carefully.
that saturated fat was bad for you because they conflated trans fat, which is a polyunsaturated fatty acid that is hydrogenated, blasted with hydrogen, so it would become more shelf stable. And your body has no idea what that is. They conflated those two things. The difference between saturated fat and hydrogenated trans fats is huge. One's not natural and one's man-made. So
Absolutely. And also the human body was not meant to consume the number of carbohydrates that we are currently consuming. We're currently consuming like the number of, carbs are meant to like sustain, not meant to be consumed on like basically a daily basis, I would say. And so that's why I think that reducing your amount of carbs is a good thing that everybody should do. You don't have to become full keto. I'm not saying, reduce it under 50 grams of carbs a day, but because that's about where you need to be to go into ketosis, as really under 30. But, it's okay for you to eat carbs, but like you can, guys, look into how many carbs are in some of the things you eat. Like a hamburger from McDonald's has like 150 carbs in it.
Well,
And it
this goes
shouldn't
back
have that many carbs. It's ridiculous.
If you listen to the carnivore people, they talk about everyone says be on a plant-based diet. You guys already eat a plant-based diet. You probably only get 20 to 30% of your calories from meat and fat. Everything else you're eating, I guarantee you, it's plant-based and it's full of chemicals, and that's what's making you all fat. So
Well,
in any
also
case,
be aware about how many sugars are in that stuff. So
Yeah.
in fruit, be aware of how many sugars are in fruit. Be aware of how many sugars are in vegetables. Be aware of just sugars. After cutting. Okay, so today, by the way, I had a blue sugar slushy. It made me want to die. I had like I have been very low carb for a long time. We were out and I had a blue that blue slushy thing and a little tiny cup of it. It was totally screwed me up for the whole day. And once you're on low carb and you try to have something like that, you realize how bad those things are for your body and like how much they screw you up. You can't realize that when you're high carb, when you're high sugar.
Right. Well, a lot of these problems too are because, like Alabaster just said, she goes by the American Journal of Sports Medicine. Yeah, that's an organization top down. It's not showing you the studies. It's saying that what their recommendations are or what they believe to be. You start delving into the actual biology, and you'll find, well, that's not there. That's not there. What's the metabolic mechanism here? In any case, guys, I gotta go. It's been 2.5 hours. So thanks, Aydin, for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Quick. Say hi and bye to Fiona, guys. Thank you all for watching. We didn't mean to get in a discussion here, but hey, it's good times. It's all fun. Thank you all for watching. We'll be back, or I'll be back Friday. I'll talk to Aydin about it if she wants to come in at the same time, 3 p.m. Eastern, and we will be talking about Stoicism and Christianity again, since I can stream this Friday. With all that said, guys, this has been All Minus One, and I wish you all well.